How goes it, party people? Let's get started. Oh, I opened the weather, not the Twitch app. SMH. It really is the hardest job. Alright. Shot collar charged. Yep. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, let's get the crossword going. I think... I don't know. I gotta ping the Discord, too. Alright. Let's get started with this crossword. Let me pull this up for you fools. You kind people. Do I have Obsidian open? I do. Oh, release notes. Wow. That's my recovery notes. That's not what I want to broadcast to the internet. Politics. There we go. Okay. So, alright. Measure of rank in oh my god. Alright, that's a good start. Bubbles. Bruh, all caps. Wow, this must be some serious offense this time. Master Liberty, I'm sure you're at the No Kings protest. How's it going? Yeah. How's it going? What's the latest from the annals of the founders? Light that goes up with me. Oh yeah? Finding anything? What, well, let me guess. Work from home, remote, data entry jobs. Yeah, I feel like I feel like that's a pretty universal Google search. Let me know if you find one, because I need some extra bread on the side. Tutoring is good, but... yeah, at least when I looked, I couldn't really find anything. I was like, alright, let me look for data entry jobs, and it was like, how about you be a clerk? I was like, well... 4-year degree, 5 years of SQL database management. What's the pay? Oh, $10 an hour. Present a chance to get ahead. I don't... oh, God. Spaniards roll them? The rolling of the... logs? I don't know. 21st century lady? There's a lot of them. It's at least 12. Really into... oh my god. You know, that's what I've been saying. And I gotta say, there's a special kind of depression or distress that I feel hearing you say it. Because... oh no. I don't know. There's something I don't like that mirror. I realize how depressing that is. There's never been a better time. I don't, barely rings a bell. Um, the Aral Sea, the Dead Sea, the. I don't know any of these. Oh my god, this is actually cooked today. Like red sauce? Tomato? Yep. Welcome to the new face of America. All right, so let's think more pragmatically. If you were to enact some small law, some provision in some giant bill, what would that be? Something small, something achievable, and something that wouldn't tear everything down. Roll them? I have no idea. Not septum. I would agree. Yeah, I think having the National Guard going back to actually guarding the states against, I don't know, maybe a malicious federal entity, I think would be pretty based. This wouldn't be a flashlight? A flare? Brava. Encore. Aria. I don't know. Sweet doings at a county fair. Deep fried Oreos. Upright bar. Oh my god. Dude, today's cooked. Everything. We got the window capture up. What the fuck? Wait. If you asked me, I could name 1,000 people that might show up and I'd get $100 to the to speak at the Bill Nye. What? Okay. Okay, Mehdi Hassan. Hey, I know this guy. The fuck's Mario doing here? I didn't know he. Okay, they did all of that because they were underprepared and not trained what the government wanted for the Spanish. Ah. What the fuck is this poster back here? Jesus. Ah, yeah, that would track. That would make sense. That is depressing, to be fair, but depressing but not surprising. Is that kind of the gist of things these days? You're telling me that there's not just the letter of the law, but also the tradition and meaning behind it? No. Isn't that like fundamental to the law? Don't they teach that at like every law school? And it feels like that's something just willingly ignored. Remind me what another term for the Constitution is? The supreme what of the land? I feel like there's only like one or two like legal thought processes, legal uh not mindsets. What's the word? There's a word I'm looking for, which is like how one approaches the law, whether it's purely textual, whether it's living. Oh my god. Schools of thought, thank you. I feel like living like the evolving to meet the times is just one school of thought, and that the other ones are still very present, but I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I might go to law school, but we'll see. Really? All right. Well, I might be speaking out of my ass, but when I took some law courses in business school, our professor, who I really respected, he worked for like various administrations, was like, look, there's like a bunch of different schools of thought, and you kind of gotta balance them. I don't know. Maybe I just had a really good professor. Roll R's. Okay, that's... Mm-mm. Understands. I have no idea. Well, I thought the Constitution was meant maybe not to be ambiguous, but a bit vague. Like it's supposed to be a broad, overarching document with the like specifics of it left to interpretation. I thought that was kind of the point. But not like changing what's written, but interpreting the gaps, to be clear. People get their what? I didn't know people got those pierced. Well, yeah, well isn't the rule like first you look at the text, then you look at how it's been interpreted, then you look at well, I don't even know. I thought it was just the text first, then other applications. What document did he go over how it worked? If you can link that, we can read that. I don't really have an agenda today. Trump, greatest president. How's it going? I can tell we're going to get along swimmingly. All right. McClock versus Maryland. Congress has the power to incorporate a bank? Is that what we're... This is the correct one, right? All right. I got you. Okay. All right. Is this the opinion part you want me to read? My day's going fine. Just watching the various happenings. How about yours? Start of the opinion? Okay. Congress has the power to incorporate a bank. The Act of the 10th of April, 1816, Chapter 44, to incorporate the subscribers to the Bank of the United States, is a law made in pursuance to the Constitution. The government of the Union, though limited in its powers, is supreme within its sphere of action and its laws when made... Gotcha. In the case now to be determined, the defendant, a sovereign state, denies the obligation of a law enacted by the legislature of the Union, and the plaintiff, on his part, contests the validity of an act which has been passed by the legislature of that state. The Constitution of our country, in its most interesting and vital parts, is to be considered the conflicting powers of the government of the Union and of its members, as marked in that Constitution, are to be discussed. It is quite old. Yeah, I'm going to read this and then parse it. Is to be considered the conflicting powers of the government of the Union and of its members, as marked in that Constitution, are to be discussed, and an opinion given which may essentially influence the great operations of the government. No tribunal can approach such a question without a deep sense of its importance, and of the awful responsibility involved in its decision. But it must be decided peacefully, or remain as a source of hostile legislation, perhaps of hostility of a still more serious nature, and if it is to be so decided by this tribunal alone can the decision be made. On the Supreme Court of the United States has the Constitution of our country devolved this important duty. The first question made in the case is, has Congress the power to incorporate a bank? It has been truly said that this can scarcely be considered an open question, either entirely unprejudiced by the former proceedings of the nation respecting it. The principle now contested was introduced at a very early period in our history, has been recognized by many successive legislatures, and has been acted upon by the judicial department in cases of peculiar delicacy. Well, yeah, I mean, it is a case about a thing, so it would make sense to re-answer the question that you're supposed to be giving your opinion on. It will not be denied that a bold and daring usurpation might be resisted after an acquiescence still longer and more complete than this, but it is conceived that a doubtful question, one on which human reason may pause and the human judgment may be suspended, in the decision of which the great principles of liberty are not concerned. But the respective powers of those who are equally the representatives of the people are to be adjusted, if not put at rest by the practice of the government, ought to receive a considerable impression from that practice. And the exposition of the Constitution, deliberately established by legislative acts, on the faith of which an immense property has been advanced, ought not to be lightly disregarded. So is this section just saying, hey, look, like, I know we're following what we've been doing for a while, but we should take a step back and say, holy shit, like, we're doing some pretty heavy hitting here. Let's give this the reverence it deserves? Something like that. All right. Holy shit, we got British gangster in the crowd here. And we have the most Parisian looking lady on the planet. Sorry, I'm easily distracted by all the shifting lights and colors off in the corner here. What the fuck? They got a they got a tuba? Oh, they got a whole ass band. Okay. The power now contested is exercised by the first Congress elected under the present Constitution. The bill for incorporating the Bank of the United States did not steal upon an unsuspecting legislature and pass unobserved. Its principle was completely understood and was opposed with equal zeal and ability. After being resisted first in the fair and open field of debate and afterwards in the executive cabinet, with as much persevering talent as any measure has ever experienced, and being supported by arguments which convince minds as pure and intelligent as this country can boast, it became a law. The original act was permitted to expire, but a short experience of the embarrassments to which the refusal to revive it exposed the government convinced those who were not most prejudiced against the measure of its necessity, and introduced the passage of the present law. It would require no ordinary share of intrepidity. Yeah, Jesus. When was the last time you saw that word? To assert that a measure be adopted under these circumstances was a bold and plain usurpation to which the Constitution gave no countenance. These observations belong to the cause, but they are not made under the impression that, were the question entirely new, the law would be found irreconcilable with the Constitution. In discussing this question, the Council for the State of Maryland have deemed it of some importance in the construction of the Constitution, to consider that instrument not as emanating from the people, but as the act of sovereign and independent states. The powers of the general government, it has been said, are delegated by the states, who alone are truly sovereign, and must be exercised in subordination to the states, who alone possess supreme dominion. It would be difficult to sustain this proposition. The convention which framed the Constitution was indeed elected by the state legislatures, but the instrument, when it came from their hands, was a mere proposal, without obligation or pretensions to it. It was reported to the then existing Congress of the United States with a request that it might be submitted to a convention of delegates chosen in each state by the people thereof, under the recommendation of its legislature, for their assent and ratification. This mode of proceeding was adopted, and by the convention, by Congress, and by state legislatures, the instrument was submitted to the people. They acted upon it in the only manner which they can act safely, effectively, and wisely on such a subject, by assembling in convention. It is true, they assembled in their several states, and where else should they have assembled? No political dreamer was wild enough to think of breaking down the lines which separate states, and of compounding the American people into one common mass. Of consequence, when they act in their states, but the measures they adopt do not, on that account, cease to be the measures of the people themselves, or become the measures of the state governments. From these conventions, the Constitution derives its whole authority. The government proceeds directly from the people, ordained and established in the name of the people, and is declared to be ordained in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and secure the blessings of liberty to make themselves the blessings of liberty to themselves and their posterity. This is a man. I need a Marshall to English translator. Jesus. The assent of the states in their sovereign capacity is implied in calling a convention, and thus submitting that instrument to the people, but the people were at perfect liberty to accept or reject it, and their act was final. It is required not the affirmance, and could not be negatively by the state governments. The Constitution, when thus adopted, was of complete obligation and bound the state sovereignties. Okay. It has been said that the people had already surrendered all their powers to the state sovereignties, and that had nothing more to give. But surely the question whether they may resume and modify the powers granted to the government does not remain to be settled in this country. The people are the source of power, and the states... Yeah, that would make sense. What the fuck? Sorry. The giant axolotl popping up on screen was not... Antifa super soldier, that's me. I should have gone to the protest. I feel like that would have been a really fun day. But I don't. Antifa final boss. Yeah, true. I mean, I am happy to see that they're waving American flags. That's good. I mean, look, when the yeah. Nah, man, I'm going to Stanford to let Trump know I'm against him, not after him, because that could be considered a threat. Oh, we got another blow up thing. Why has this motherfucker got an 8-ball suit on? My outrage can't fit on this sign. Oh boy. Oh boy. Ned Lamont? Yeah, true. Uh, Gotta snap a picture of the Capitol real quick. Timmy Tough Knuckles over. True. True. Nope. We've got Chank over here. The donor class. You won't like me when I see your head. Okay, I appreciate that, because while this is interesting, this is a big-ass opinion. Holy shit. Oh my god. A constitution to contain an accurate detail of all the subdivisions of which its great powers will admit, and of all the means by which they may be carried into execution would partake of the proximity of a legal code, and could scarcely be embraced by the human mind. It would probably never be understood by the public. Its nature thereof, therefore, requires that only its great outlines should be marked, its important objects designated, and the minor ingredients which compose those objects be deduced from the nature of the... Oh, well, okay, that's... I appreciate it being as clear as day there, at least. That makes sense. Now watch this drive. Beck, do you want to take a wild guess? Name 10 scientists. One of them may or may not have appeared here. I'm so curious to see if this person's name comes to mind. Or anyone named... Well, Master Liberty already saw who it was, but... There's a certain scientist here that I was not expecting to see. And no, it's not Stephen Hawking. Not Albert. Not Biden. Not Neil deGrasse Tyson. Bill Nye. Yep. I was just scrolling through to see who was like speaking here, and I was like, wait a minute. That's not what I was expecting. But we also have the goddamn goat, Chris Murphy, showing up. Then Mehdi Hassan. I don't know who this is. Bill Nye. I don't know who that is. Don't know who this is. Don't know who these gentlemen are. I don't know who this guy is. It's Anthony Fantano. I am not a paid protester. Sticker is crazy. I don't know who any of these people are except for Bill Nye. What the fuck is this guy? That's a terrible freeze frame. Oh my god, of course. Now I'm hooked. Bill Nye, fuck him. Chris Murphy, fuck him. We got the goat. Actually, what did my representation have to say at this meeting? Whatever.
The wiffle ball and Pez.
Okay, that's a good start. Wiffle ball and Pez. Oh, Connecticut, yeah.
On our license plates, though, there's a very simple statement. It says, Connecticut, the Constitution state. We were the first state to adopt our own constitution. In my state, we couldn't wait to be self-governed. We couldn't wait to throw off the yoke of control and censorship from us. Before any other state...
Do we have any great Italian heroes in here that know sauce in a... Oh, marinara. Well, okay, I'm stupid.
Before our founding fathers, we wrote down in Connecticut the simple words, no kings. And I'm here today to share with you some unsurprising news. We are not on the verge of an authoritarian takeover. We are in the middle of an authoritarian takeover.
Thank you, Jesus Christ.
But Trump has not won. Our democracy is in peril, but it can be saved. But no one's riding to our rescue, and I just want to be clear with you about that today. No one's riding to our rescue. There aren't establishment responsible Republicans that are riding to our rescue.
Wait, hold on. This guy is actually the fucking GOAT. My representative, he watches the stream. Because when I argue with, like, centrists, this is pretty much my line. It's like, it's not coming. It's not, like, on its way. It's not, oh, these are some scary indicators. It's here. Like... And if you're in the center, I blame you for not being able to stomach Kamala Harris to vote against this shit.
Rescue. The mainstream media isn't riding to our rescue. There's no oligarchs riding to our rescue.
True.
It is up to us to save us.
What the fuck?
Now, recently, when I gave this warning that we are in the middle of that totalitarian takeover, one of my colleagues said, well, you know, be
okay. Actually, never mind.
Careful. You don't want to scare people, but you guys can handle the truth, right? You guys deserve the truth, right? The truth is that Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in the history of the United States of America.
I finally found this shit.
The truth is that he is enacting a detailed step-by-step plan to try to destroy all of the things that protect our democracy, free speech, fair elections.
Now, if only I could find the Get Swifty shirt, then we'd be set.
An independent press, the right to peacefully protest.
Maybe we
but
watch
the
a
truth
few
is
good men
this,
on stream.
He has not won yet. The people still rule in this country. And today, all across America, in numbers that may eclipse any day of protest in our nation's history, Americans are saying loudly and proudly that we are a free people. We are not a people that can be ruled. Our government is not for sale.
No king! No king! No king!
Now,
how's that going?
I want to be honest with you about what's going on, and you know it. As we stand here today, the government is shut down, and shutdowns are painful. They hurt people. And frankly, that's why there was not a single government shutdown when Joe Biden was president and Democrats were in charge of Congress.
True.
Because we acted like adults. We negotiated with Republicans. We found common ground. We kept the government open. But today, Trump is telling Republicans that they shouldn't even show up in Washington, D.C. The House Republicans have been on an unplanned vacation from D.C. for 5 weeks. And there's a couple reasons for that. First, they're trying to cover up for rich billionaire pedophiles. But second...
And they're doing their civic right and duty.
Because Trump does think that he's a king, and he thinks that he can act more corruptly when the government is shut down. But he cannot. He doesn't have new powers, extra powers in a shutdown. The President of the United States during a shutdown, or even when the government is open, does not have the power to send masked men into our cities and pull off the streets our peaceful neighborhoods.
Well, then figure it the fuck out.
neighbors and throw them into the back of vans and into prisons. He never has that power.
If you want to actually call for arresting people protesting a guy that you like, then you are fucking beyond retarded.
Whether it's a shutdown or not, the President of the United States does not have the power to use the FCC and the Department of Justice to censor.
Alright, well, kill yourself immediately. As Minecraft. Jesus.
Our speech to tell us that we cannot speak truth to power when we are protecting our democracy. He never has that power. And let me just say that I'm very
I don't even think that was uncalled for. I just can get banned for that probably. Oh well.
proud of my Democratic colleagues who have drawn a line in the sand. And let me just speak for myself for a moment about this shutdown. I will not vote for a budget that throws millions of people off their health care just to pay for a tax cut for billionaires and corporations.
The funny part was, even if they did get this passed, there'd still be like a $2.8 trillion deficit boost.
And I will not vote for a budget that doesn't put some serious checks on President Trump's destruction of our democracy.
True, also. Yeah, that's the key part of the fucking shutdown, is that closing the loophole about the power of the purse.
In fact, no Democrat has a moral obligation to vote for a budget that just pays the bills for Donald Trump's political witch hunts. So this is a moment for the people who work with me in this Capitol to draw a moral line in the sand. And this is a moment for all of you to stand up and speak up. Listen.
What happened there?
President Trump thinks that he can bully us into silence. He thinks that he can intimidate us into sitting this fight out. Jesus. But judging by the number of people here
yeah, I don't have compression on the audio or the desktop audio because I didn't think I'd need it.
Today, judging by the number of people standing up all across this country, he thinks he can silence us, he thinks he can bully us, but he cannot and he will not. And the last thing I want to say to you is this. It's a simple thing. I get it that when you wake up in the morning, like me, you are filled with anxiousness, with anger about what is happening in this country. But I also want you to feel something else.
Oh my
because
God.
This experiment, 250 years in.
Stop touching the fucking mic settings. It's fine. Leave it alone.
This bold, revolutionary experiment of self-governance in a nation that is a melting pot.
Okay, I'm going to be very tentative about turning this up again.
Right? That is a miracle that it has lasted for this long. And every single one of us needs to understand that when we wake up every day, we have an obligation, a duty, a responsibility to fight hard to protect that bold experiment. So I wake up every day filled with that same anger and anxiety. But I feel lucky that I am on Earth at a moment where I can stand up on my 2 feet and have something to say about maybe the most defining fight of our lifetime to protect American democracy from ruin. I feel anger and anxiety, but I frankly feel joy that I have something to say and that I can tell my kids and my grandkids that when the moment came, I stood up to protect and save American democracy from ruin. And so
Googly, what's a bread purchase in the UK?
You got a lot of awesome speakers here today. I heard a rumor that a guy named Bernie Sanders is in the house.
Not bread run. It's something P. It's P something something
loaf.
loaf.
Act for Bernie. All right, but listen, I'm super proud of being here with you. I'm optimistic. I'm bullish about our ability to win this fight, and it's because 400 years ago.
I can't believe I
In the
just did that
small
uncritically.
but mighty
Fuck
state
you.
of Connecticut, we wrote down on a piece of paper a really simple idea. In America, the people rule. In America, there are no kings. Thanks, Washington, D.C. Appreciate it. Go out there and fight for our country.
And now, let's give a
I feel so represented. That's my goat up there.
warm No Kings welcome to Mehdi Hassan,
Alright, yeah, this will probably be
and
good.
CEO and
Potloaf?
editor-in-chief
Hey,
of
Merton.
the new media company,
No.
Zateo.
Padloaf? Panloaf?
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, my name is Mehdi Hassan. I am a journalist, I am an immigrant, and I am a Muslim. I am everything Donald Trump loves. I am the Trump trifecta. I'm also a bit of a socialist, but shh, don't tell Stephen Miller, he alarms quite quickly. Can I just say, it is so heartwarming to see so many of you out here in DC today.
I don't think I've ever heard him with a raised voice. I don't know if it's the mic settings, but I think it's like capturing him pretty well.
DC, make some noise! We need to make sure today that they hear us in the White House and in the Capitol. All week, I've heard Speaker Mike Johnson and Republican members of Congress say that this rally,
Bullshit.
the No Kings rally, is a hate rally. A hate rally. The people who can't get through a single day without hating on late-night comedians and overweight soldiers and Muslim politicians and Mexican immigrants and Palestinian refugees and black women and transgender kids.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Why is the audio like this? Is it as jarring for you guys as it is for me? Holy fuck. I was just saying the mic sounded good for a hot sec.
Protesters and Mr. Freaking Potato Head, they are lecturing us on hate? Really? I'm not here out of hate.
Okay, I'm keeping a close eye
I'm here out of love.
on this fucking volume slider. I'm not letting this go.
I'm here because I love this country. I love America. I love the First Amendment. I love our democracy. I love our diversity. Yes, our diversity.
Woke.
And I am not willing to sit back
No.
and watch our glorious
Careful.
American multiracial,
Watch it.
multicultural, democratic experiment, our constitutional republic, destroyed by the guy from Home Alone 2. Not gonna do it. Because I did not inherit America. I did not inherit America. I chose America. I wasn't
Okay, now it's
born
too
here.
quiet.
I immigrated here. And we immigrants,
What the f-
we love this country often more than the people who are born here. Because we chose to move here.
True.
Live here.
True.
Swear an oath to the Constitution here. An oath
One that
the
catches,
guy
what
down
number
the
is that?
street violates every morning and every night. The great irony is, of course, that Donald Trump is the son of an immigrant, the grandson of an immigrant, and married to an immigrant. In fact, 2 of his 3 wives were immigrants, proving yet again that immigrants will do the jobs that even Americans are not willing to do.
That's a good line.
I immigrated here from the United Kingdom. You want to talk about no kings? The UK still has a king. King Charles III. But even he has less gold in his palace than Donald Trump has in the Oval Office right now. Even King Charles has more respect for democratic norms and traditions than the whiny authoritarian man-child trying to send troops into as many blue cities as he can.
This is a president who says he wants to be a dictator, but only for a day. Well, we are now 271 days into his wannabe dictatorship. He just went to see the Egyptian president Sisi, who is a military dictator, runs one of the most repressive regimes on earth. And he went there.
Okay, now is it audible for you guys, or is it completely inaudible?
I want to praise your fantastic leadership and your low crime rates. This is who he loves. This is the autocratic leader he aspires to be. And of course, he was in Egypt hailing his Gaza peace plan, which is a ceasefire, yes, but not a peace plan.
All right.
Donald
Desktop
Trump,
audio is
the man
boosted
who
now.
uses Palestinian as a pejorative, as a slur, has no plan for Palestinian freedom, no plan for Palestinian statehood, no plan for justice for the Palestinians who have been massacred and starved and genocided and ethnically cleansed for the past 2 years, including the past 9 months of his
If they
presidency.
don't touch it ever again, it's
Meanwhile,
fine.
Israel for the past week has violated the ceasefire again and again, killing Palestinians with impunity. Yesterday they killed 7 Palestinian children during a ceasefire. There is no peace in the Middle East because, as Dr. King said, peace is not just the absence of violence, it is the presence of justice. So these are dark times. Genocide abroad, fascism at home. Which is why it's so crucial that we gather, we organize, we rally like this. We mobilize, we pluralize, we bring people into the tent. We register voters, we defend voters, we become voters if we're not already. And you know, they say we don't reach out to the other side. We don't reach out to conservatives or Republicans. That we're in an echo chamber. Well, let me say to every Republican and conservative watching, aren't you the ones who said no?
Oh, isn't this the guy who? No. I hate yet another reason to shit on Hassan for that. Like, aren't you the guy who? Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a little annoying, but in a lot of times it's like, hey, you know, you guys are total fucking hypocrites. But when you start every argument with, isn't this the guy who? It starts to lose its meaning. But
no tyranny in America? So, if you believe that, what are you doing defending masked federal agents in unmarked cars, bundling people off of the streets, including American citizens, and disappearing them? How are you okay with that? And if you're not okay with it, then come over to our side. The side of the Democrats. The small d Democrats, not the big D Democrats, not the Democratic Party. Those of us who are from all parties and none. But those of us who care about saving America so that we can get to our 250th birthday and still be free when we reach 250 years. Come over to our
taffy
side.
somethings,
The side of no
rolls.
crowns, no thrones, no kings. The side of freedom, of liberty, of the Constitution. The First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 22nd Amendment, which says 2 terms means 2 terms. And if you're not worried about Donald Trump trying to stay on for a 3rd term, you should be. He's literally selling merch. So I worry about free and fair elections in 2028. But then I say, why should I worry? I see all...
I'm a lot less worried about 2028 than I am about the midterm elections being free and fair. Wasn't there a thing about like a Trump loyalist buying the Dominion voting machine thing? Or I know next to nothing about that. But I can see a world where like National Guard troops are stationed outside voting booths as like an intimidation tactic or something like that.
Of you here today, what is there to worry about? We here today are not spectators. We are citizens. We are not bystanders. We are proud and patriotic Americans. And we Americans, we the people, will not allow our country to be taken over by demagogues and dictators. We will not stand for it. So let me ask you this. I need to hear you. Are you willing? Are you willing? Answer this. Are you willing to sit back and let Trump shred our freedom?
Is it not Ellie? Ellie? Ellie. Elvie? Elsie? That's a... Has anyone ever met an Elsie? I don't know about that one.
I can't hear you, DC. They need to hear you in the White House. Are you willing to let Trump shred our freedoms?
Really? Alright.
Are you willing to sit back and bend the knee?
Yeah, I've met Elsa's, but Elsie never, but alright. Maybe in the UK. I've never heard that here.
To fascists and white supremacists. Are you willing to be the Americans on whose watch democracy died? Good. Because people power is our last line of defense. Remember this. Donald Trump has never, ever, not in 3 elections, won a majority of the vote. Never. And I'll say this to you. Here's the math that they are scared of. There are more of us than there are of them. We are the majority. Say it with me. We are the majority.
Dude, I remember in 2016 when I was a little shit, hearing the term "we're the silent majority" was like, yeah! That's just...
They're not loud enough today, Dean. Come on. Louder. We are...
Oh my god, he's doing it twice. He's doing the, I can't hear you. Come on, guys, that's not enough energy. I said good morning.
The majority. Yes, we are. And we have no
I like
intention
Mehdi
of
as well.
losing
I just
our
don't like
country,
that
our
shit.
democracy, our freedoms to that twice impeached convicted criminal and his gang of grifters. No way. We will out-organize them. We will outvote them. We will outlast them. Because when I see you all out here today, in your thousands, in millions across the country, I have hope. I have faith that America can defeat this fascist threat, this authoritarian
taffy
mania,
ball. What,
this
sweet
MAGA cult, and
taffy?
save our freedoms. And I also have faith and hope that one day soon, the Palestinians will be free. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm Washington, D.C. welcome to Deirdre Schiefling, Chief Political and Advocacy Officer of the American Civil Liberties Union, who leads the ACLU's policy, campaigns, and organizing work to fight for civil rights and liberties nationwide. And Sarah Parker, Executive Director of Voices of Florida.
Hello, everyone. Hello, DC. You look so beautiful.
I'm trying to form a joke. You guys can help me out here. It's like Tectone and his like ilk, like shy and fear or something like that when they see a woman with this haircut or something.
I wish you could see yourselves from here. You look amazing. You look powerful. I'm Deirdre Schiefling. I'm the Chief Political and Advocacy Officer for the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and a proud Washingtonian. I'm so thrilled to be here with you, my community, today.
Low-key, I
doing the
just want to
most
see Bill Nye.
patriotic and American.
For the same reason our ancestors gathered here in 17...
I can't believe this. The rest of it, yeah, that's to be expected. It's the regular and normal cast of characters. Bill Nye, man, you remember in like 2015 all the fucking shitstorm that erupted when he did like an episode about gender being a spectrum? I just remember the fucking meltdown about that.
76. We want our government to run without a king. Our government is based on ideas embodied in the Constitution. Among other remarkable features, it guarantees our freedom to speak, as we're doing here today. Rather than doing one monarch's bidding, we have agreed to form a democracy, to work together, and to follow the laws that derive from it. No thrones, No
Jesus.
crowns. No kings.
Okay, I am actually struggling with this crossword beyond.
As many of you know, I am a native Washingtonian. I grew up here within the city boundaries. And when you grow up here, the affairs of the federal government are very much a part of your life. I remember well sitting on my father's shoulders and waving to astronauts as we, as a nation, celebrated their
Oh,
accomplishments.
yeah, sure.
Back in 1964. In 1964, that was the first year my parents could vote for president as citizens of the District of Columbia. We still do not have voting representation in the district. Someday, perhaps. I remember well Martin Luther King's dream and Resurrection City, the plywood structures on the National Mall erected to house protesters who came to town demanding equal rights and opportunities, barely a month after Dr. King had been assassinated. I remember well the Vietnam War. The mall was shoulder to shoulder, much as it is today. Traffic stopped citywide.
I have no. Okay, I'm actually.
The
This
protest
is
movement expanded.
tragic.
There were protests around the country, and the
Oh,
war
fleas?
was
Eh.
ended. We
Paul,
are protesting
Saul,
in the same fashion
Gaul,
today.
Hall, Mall, no, Ball, Vol, Call, Sol,
Only
Zol,
today,
Wall,
the
Y'all,
stakes are
Paul,
higher.
Paul.
Rather than abandoning a war against an elusive, perhaps sometimes imaginary foe, we are confronting the possible end of our republic. We are here to tell our lawmakers that what's going
Any
on
Cuban
in our
politicians
government
here?
is wrong. They must stop the abuses of this petulant president and his circle of sycophants. No thrones, no crowns, no kings.
Oh no.
This president and his associates cannot tolerate dissent. To them, our free speech is frightening.
Oh,
They
read
are
me.
arresting people and denying due process in courts. They tried to silence television hosts. They're trying to indict civil servants, prosecutors, judges, even their own cabinet members. But in this land,
Itsy.
these sorts of actions are not new. In 1776, our ancestors had had enough. They declared independence from a king by means of a document stored safely right over there.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest, brother. I don't know who those people are. I'm gonna imagine tornadoes. Good call. I'm gonna imagine that's like British Bill Nye.
On Constitution Avenue in the National Archives. Although it was conceived 249 years ago, the Declaration of Independence describes a train of abuses connected with an absolute authority, a king with absolute power. No thrones, no crowns, no kings.
Operation Ouch. Nice.
Their king had refused to let lawmakers be elected. The king had made court judges dependent on his will.
Fair enough.
They cited
I mean,
the king
TV
sending,
scientists
quote,
are nothing new.
swarms of officers to harass our people. Their language
And,
referred to,
okay.
quote, cruel.
This is all, I guess, exactly what one would expect. What else? We got Mamdani on Fox. That sounds interesting to me. We've got Caroline Levitt responding to Mamdani on Fox. Loner box. This video that sends me into a blind rage every time I see it. Zelensky and Trump meeting. Yeah, let's do Mamdani on Fox. I feel like that'd be pretty fun.
You know, last night I chat GPT'd, where is the capitalist and global finance center of the world? And it said New York City, which made me feel good as someone who loves New York City. Is that?
Oh, need like a T-shirt or something from Mamdani's campaign. It's like Republicans failing to understand what capitalism is since like what 2008. Well, before that probably, but ever since Obama hit the scene, they were like, actually, you want a higher marginal tax bracket? Have you considered that that's communism? Sorry, I forgot my camera's over here now, not here.
A moniker that you're proud of and one that you want
And there's some like 78-year-old retarded boomer and this fucking lazy boy going
to continue for this city.
We should be proud of it, and I will also say that that's one thing you have in common with Andrew Cuomo, because he also uses ChatGPT to answer many questions, including how to actually resolve the housing crisis in this city. And
Right.
It's time that we are not only proud of us being the financial capital, the cultural capital, but also we should make it a capital of where working people can afford to live in this city. Because
Wait a minute, Mamdani didn't say capitalism is evil? Wait a minute. Oh, fuck. Shit. I need a reason to vote for just Italian Cuomo.
now what we're seeing is that 1 in 4 New Yorkers are being priced out of the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
That's absolutely true. One of the things that's also true is that J.P. Morgan.
Is this whole interview gonna be? Oh shit! He didn't say actually kill all the capitalist bourgeois class. Have you heard of J.P. Morgan?
Goldman Sachs have moved major operations to Texas. They've not abandoned
Oh,
New
I see,
York,
okay.
but they're hedging their bets on New York because of the increased taxes that they see coming if you become mayor. So when they do that,
They were moving to Texas well before Mamdani ever hit the scene. It's almost like Texas is developing a financial and like tech and entertainment hub as the state like grows. Like, yeah, Texas is becoming a hub of everything. It's cities are developing. There's actually a J.P. Morgan branch in Omaha, Nebraska. Are you worried that companies are going to start leaving New York to headquarter in Omaha?
jobs move out of the city as well.
Nothing
so
against
how does that
Omaha,
help
but-
affordability if people in the city don't have the jobs that they once had here?
Well, I'm looking to make this a city that every person chooses, whether they're a business leader or they're someone who works for that business. And the key ways of doing that are actually delivering quality of life, public safety, and affordability for each and every person. Because what we're seeing right now is we have a broken status quo. We have a corrupt political system.
Oh, I thought
and we
this
have the
was Solar
politicians that
Sail.
sustain that. That's really what's on the ballot, is whether New Yorkers want to continue that or whether they actually want a city they can afford. That's what I'm going to deliver.
So, Governor Hochul, you would have to get approval from the legislature to raise individual taxes, income taxes, and also corporate taxes in New York, which you've said you would like to do in order to pay for the free buses and the free childcare and the different programs, the government grocery stores and the like. She says no new taxes in her governor's race. So what are you going to do if she won't allow taxes to be raised? How will you pay for these programs?
You know, I've said time and again that I believe these are the most straightforward ways that we can actually fund universal childcare,
Not
making
time and
buses
again.
fast and free.
No.
And I've said that the 2 clear ways to do so, raising personal income taxes on the top 1% by 2%, and raising the corporate tax to match that of New Jersey's corporate tax of 11.5%. Now, if there are other ways to raise this money to fund this agenda, the most important thing is that we fund the agenda. I still think that these are the most important and clear ways we can do it, and I'm thankful to have Governor Hochul's support in this race and the fact that she said we have a shared commitment to delivering universal.
That's a pretty big tax hike for companies. I will say I would probably say that's a bit sharp.
Childcare for New Yorkers across the city and the state.
I think that's great. I think everybody would love to have free health care and free buses and all these things. But the question is,
If you consider that communism doesn't work,
how do you pay for it? The city's already in debt. The governor says
didn't he just answer this? This is part of my big case is like, look, you could say that Republicans want to lower taxes. That's fine. But fiscal responsibility is the matching of spending with revenues. And Republicans, when they cut revenues, they do not pair it with a cut in spending because they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to keep all the social programs that people like, which are created by Democrats, but they also want to have all the praise for, yep, the taxes are lower, and then our deficit just goes wonk. And they'll say, goddamn Democrats, how could they do this?
No to new taxes. Like Margaret Thatcher said, socialism's great until you run out of everyone else's money, other people's money.
We're quoting Margaret Thatcher. Sorry, this is we're like 2 minutes into this, but I'm sorry. It's Fox News. They're fucking crazy. Immensely popular, Margaret Thatcher once said.
Well, what Andrew Cuomo said is that if he had $959 million, he'd give it to Elon Musk in tax credits, because that's exactly what he did. And I bring that up to you to say that it's often a question of whether you have the willingness to spend that money to benefit working class people, not where that money is in the first place.
So what would you cut? What would you draw from to do it?
I don't think we have to cut. I've spoken about raising taxes on the wealthiest. And frankly, this is an issue that we have here in New York City, and frankly, even across this country. When I've spoken to Trump voters right here in New York City, Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx, they've told me it was cost of living that drove them to vote for Donald Trump. They've told me it was a promise of a lower actual, whether it be cheaper groceries, whether it be childcare, whether it be rent.
Right.
And what we're seeing time and time again is we're more focused on the question of billionaires and the most profitable corporations than we are on people who can't even afford to make ends meet in this city.
Well, we know affordability is an issue, and I think that all politicians are getting to an understanding of that, and I think that you've done a lot, actually, to bring people's attention to that issue. Let's take a look at the free buses issue just for a moment, because I know you said that the pilot project that you did was one of the biggest accomplishments.
What does Fox
of being an
News have to
assemblyman.
say about free
the Washington
transportation?
Post said this in an editorial about this. Quality inevitably declines when a service is offered for free. Vagrants and drug addicts would camp out all day on New York's buses, especially in the winter. Parents would go afraid to let their children ride alone.
What the fuck, Washington Post? You're supposed to be liberal!
Their way to get around, but poor New Yorkers who depend on the bus would suffer the most. What do you say to that? Do you agree with that?
Well, I would say that they should actually look at the report of the 5 free buses we delivered across New York City. We didn't
My
see an increase in
liberal
homelessness.
biased
We did see an
institutions out
increase
here,
in New Yorkers
guys.
riding the bus.
Fucking
We did
shit.
see a decrease in assaults on bus drivers by 38.9%, and we also saw a decrease in New Yorkers who were having to take a cab or take their own car. They were actually getting on the bus. More than 10% of new riders were doing so. That's why we care so deeply about this, because of the fact that it can actually deliver economic, public safety, and even congestion relief to New Yorkers who are looking to take these buses.
I know that you're turning 34 on Saturday, and I want to talk about your qualifications. Some say you have never run a business in your life, so I'm curious. And President Trump said that you never worked a day in
Damn, I thought he was like 20-something. Never mind. He's too old. He's part of the donor class. Get him out of here.
your life. You worked as an assemblyman, and you've had other positions in the government. But what qualifies you from your life experience to run the largest city in the country?
You know, I want to take this moment because you spoke about President Trump, and he may be watching right now, and I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who is ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the part.
Yeah, I really don't think he has a good answer. Like, of all the things about Mamdani that, like, are digs against him, I do actually think the lack of experience is probably the strongest, or at least the most convincing to me. Now, in the preponderance of all things, I could give less of a shit. But, yeah, and this is a pretty clear pivot, which is fine. Like, strategically, I think that's probably the right move. I do wish he had a good answer for, hey, you know, you never done anything close to this. Like, I don't know. Maybe he, like, mentions his work as an assemblyman or something, like knowing the legislative process. I don't know. That's my big hang up, but it's not enough for me to, like, yeah, I know, but, like, yeah, I hear that. I do want, and I think I'm gonna refocus the stream into, like, prescribing policy and whatnot, so it's not just, hey, you know, this person's better than Trump, it's like, it is snippy. I think that is like, for the time being, that's probably a good line, but to have some, I don't know, something more like positive rather than a snippy retort or like affirmative towards himself, I guess. But again, this is like minor shit. We support Mamdani here, like.
Partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
So the question I asked you was what specifically in your background gives you the confidence that you can run a $115 billion budget and run this city specifically from your personal experience and your background?
I've been a state assembly member here in New York City. I've represented 130,000 people in Queens. And in the time that I've done so, I've not only delivered more than $100 million in increased bus and subway service, I've also secured $500 million in debt relief for work.
It's like, that's good. I just wish you led with that. Okay, again, these are like very, very minuscule
Working class
things,
taxi drivers. President Trump knows this. New Yorkers know this across the 5 boroughs. Taxis, as we're looking at them right here, are such a part of what we love about this city. And yet those same drivers were sold a lie about a ticket to the middle class if they bought a medallion. I stood with those drivers. I organized with those drivers. I went on a 15-day hunger strike with those drivers. And we secured $500 million in debt relief that allows those drivers to do more than just think about struggle.
How many employees would you be overseeing in the New York City government?
What was that name of, there was some guy from India that was in chat who was like, why don't you guys just do a hunger strike? I was like, I've been proven wrong. He's been vindicated from like 4 months ago.
More than 300,000.
That's a lot of people. But thank you for answering the question. I know that you want to stimulate small business in the city, and
She
we
can't
all
get him
walk
on
around the
anything.
city
He's really
that we
good.
love, and we see a lot of empty storefronts. So give me your plan on how you would do that.
You know, I've spoken to a lot of New Yorkers for whom their aspiration, their dream is in that small business. And I've told them that we are going to make it easier to not only open it, but keep it open. We're going to cut fines and fees by 50%. Because as you said, we have a city government that has a $116 billion budget. It's not funded by charging a restaurant $25 a year for the right to sell a frozen dessert. We're going to streamline the regulations and rules that these small businesses have to adhere to. Because today, if you want to open up a barbershop, you have to fill out 24 forms, go to 7 agencies, 12 in-person activities. And furthermore, we're going to have a mom and pop czar, someone that'll help these businesses navigate through this. Because while we are holding these kinds of businesses to these kinds of rules, we're letting the most profitable corporations walk all over us here in New York City. And it's part of the problem where so many New Yorkers look around at the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world and asking themselves, there's all this money, why can't I afford $2.90 to even ride the bus?
So let me just quick question on that, and I want to get to public safety because it's obviously another big issue for New Yorkers. So a lot of individuals in this city pay more than 50% of their income in taxes. When you talk about a fair share, how much more than what is the fair share? What's the number?
Didn't he just answer this?
Said that we should increase personal income taxes by 2%.
Is fair.
And my point is this:
give up more than half of your income. That's
if you're making $1 million.
Okay, nobody has an answer for what makes a fair tax except yours truly. This makes a fair tax. A fair tax is a marginal tax rate that levels the playing field on what the next marginal dollar means to you.
$1 million in New York City, or more than.
Up to the point where people living at or below the poverty line have a passable standard of living.
That. You can afford to pay 2% more, and the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
It's not because they can necessarily afford it. It's just because that $1 going to poor Bill is worth like $500 going to rich Bob.
Yeah.
Because when I speak to the wealthiest New Yorkers, I hear concerns about the cleanliness of the city, the quality of life in the city, questions of public safety. This money is the money that will be used to deliver on those things so that we can ensure that we have a return on investment for all of the money that we are raising and spending right here across the 5 boroughs.
I want to talk to you about public safety and your relationship with police. So just in terms of public safety, I want to go to an example first, because I hear from people that they don't feel safe walking home at night. There's drug addicts on the street, right around the corner here. You can walk around the corner and see people shooting up. A lot of garbage on the streets right now. The subway is something that people are really concerned about. Last week, 64-year-old Nicola Tanzi, who was a church leader, a pillar in his community, was brutally beaten to death. I tried to watch this video in preparation. It's very hard to watch, in a subway station in Brooklyn. 25-year-old David Mazarregos had a 20-inch sword. He's the suspect in this case. He was out. They lowered his bail so that he could get out. He was already waiting a trial for attacking someone in Chelsea. 33 past arrests.
Again, bail isn't just awarded for funsies. Like, the judge determines whether or not this person is likely to offend in the meantime and is likely to show up to their court date. I think everyone agrees that a bail system is fine, because the harm you do by keeping everyone locked up until their court date is not great. I think we lose lose utility there. I feel like if we say that bail as a system is fine, then some things like this happen. Now, we can talk about making the requirements for bail a lot more stringent. That's a conversation I'll hear. But saying woke judge awarded bail to a person that they thought wouldn't do anything, this is your fault. That doesn't carry much for me.
You were in favor of bail reform. Does that make you want to change your mind or think twice about reversing that?
This is a horrific incident, and it's the same video that I saw. And it's one that horrifies New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and it's completely unacceptable. And what it makes me think about is the necessity of providing public safety in our New York City subway system and across the 5 boroughs. Yeah. And also, how do we end the revolving door? Because when you look further into the case of whether this individual or so many individuals, especially those suffering from mental health issues, what we find is so often the only mental health system that we have that's functioning in the city is Rikers Island. 40% of the incarcerated population there are suffering from serious mental illness. Why was he on the street is the question. Why was he on the street? Because we have a broken system. They lowered his bail. He had a bail he couldn't pay. Then they lowered the bail, and then he could pay it. Imagine if you're this family, and they look at 33 prior arrests, and why? Why was this man on the street? What would stop him in your advice?
33 prior arrests, how many convictions, and when he was convicted, how many times was he awarded bail, and how many times, if he was awarded bail, did he show up back to court, and how many times did he re-offend in the meantime? Arguably, the more this guy's been arrested, convicted, or arrested and showed up with his bail, shown up to his trial after posting bail, that's a stronger case for, all right, I mean, it seems like this guy does show up, and in the like, it's like a credit score, but for bail, I'm just saying, like, there's not a lot of understanding with what bail is and why it's there from anybody.
Administration from being on the street.
Because what we would do is actually address the systemic problems that would ensure that someone who goes through the system this many times is actually, his issues are addressed, the services are provided. Right now, all we have is going in and out, especially when it comes to mental health. I'll give you an example.
Where would he be in your world? Where would he be? In a mental institution?
He would actually be getting services from the first time that he was arrested, as opposed.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very good answer, and that's what should be happening. It's like, oh, you're like actually schizophrenic. Okay, here's an institution that we will put you into.
Opposed to having to go through them 33 times. If you look at the New York Times, they did an investigation on 1,000 different incidents of violent crime in the city tied to mental health episodes. Yeah. They found that so many of those same New Yorkers were failed by the interactions they had with the city when they went for help.
Also, Chad, how do we feel about like compelling use of social services? So, like, assuming we have a robust and working social service for the homeless, for like the mentally ill. How do we feel about, you know, government forcing adults to utilize those services, either post-arrest or pre-arrest? Yes. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Like, the instinct I have is yes, but there's also a part of me that's like, well, precog forcing, yeah, that's, I don't know. There's still a part of me that screams no fucking way. I would think maybe like after an arrest, you force a cognitive assessment, and then you go from there. But I don't think, because right now, like when I was reading up on New York's immigration policy stuff, like they have vans that go around and talk to homeless people, like, "Hey, you guys want to like use the services?" And they're like, "No, fuck off, kill yourself." And they're like, "Okay, see you tomorrow." Yeah, that's a tough one for me. Yeah, yeah. But then what do you make? Like, you're like, oh, I got you loitering. I don't know. It's a difficult one because you do want people that need the services to utilize the services. Like, it's not good to have people on the street. It's not good to have uninstitutionalized or just people that have like mental issues not receiving help. I don't just mean like lock them up in Gotham Asylum or whatever the fuck and throw away the key, but like actually have good services that allow people to go back into society. But yeah, I suppose, yeah. Like, oh, we detected a depression diagnosis. All right. See you in 40 years. See if a couple of years in the slammer will fix you. It doesn't feel good.
For mental health assistance. And that failure is a blight. It is a stain on our city. And it's a failure that I'm looking to fix by actually transforming this with the only comprehensive plan for public safety of any of the candidates. Because what we are going to do is put out a plan and a proposal that we have shared with New Yorkers to create the Department of Community Safety that would bring together all of these pre-existing silos that address mental health crisis, that address homelessness into one department, provide it with the funding necessary, and actually address this crisis.
Where do these people go, though, is my question. Are you going to put them in a mental institution so they can be taken care of? Or are you going to leave them at home on medication? What's the plan?
There's a plan right now that allows for involuntary confinement, which I think should be a last resort, because of the fact that when you look at the actual results, this is something that so often doesn't actually have. That's what.
How so? All right. You two hop it. We got to force more. Are we doing the mental health debate today? I'm here for it.
That what has been spoken about. But what we have today that.
Also, if you want me to look up any facts or whatever stats to make your case, you can either link me or just ask me to look something up.
It actually works. For
I'm
New
here
Yorkers
to
with serious
facilitate
mental
the
illness,
great
there
Vitro
are
and Merton
things
fight.
like Fountain House. This is a clubhouse model, peer-led rehabilitative treatment for New Yorkers with serious mental illness. It costs $4,000 to have someone in Fountain House for a year. That's the cost of being on Rikers for 3 days. And what we see, however, is that those services, they increase employment by 50%, they reduce hospitalization by up to 45%, and they actually reduce the cost of healthcare as well for those same New Yorkers. This is what we're looking at. This is why we say that Rikers is broken, the system is broken.
You can just see people who are suffering up and down 8th Avenue, just as one example. And I hope we'll have a chance to talk more about that next time. But I don't want you to leave without me.
Nothing happens if we make $1 trillion services. What do you mean? Like services that people can't afford?
Asking you about your relationship with the police, because obviously this is a big issue. You said in the past, and I almost don't need to go through it,
Yeah, but like, maybe we can do more reading on this, but like, are you going to be charged if you're homeless and ostensibly have $0? Well, yeah, but like, the problem is getting people to actually go to use the services, not necessarily the services. Yeah.
And said many times, but that you called the police force racist, said they were a major threat to public safety, called them wicked and corrupt. And now the report that you apologized to 24 members of the NYPD. What did you say to them?
I apologized for the language that I used, and I spoke to them about the fact that I want to work with
style.
them to deliver public safety. Because what we're seeing in the city right now is we're asking officers to do nearly everything we can think of. We used to ask officers to focus on serious crimes. Now we're asking them to focus also on the mental health crisis, to focus also on homelessness. In 1 year alone, the NYPD receives 200,000 mental health calls. In 1 year.
Yeah, and you know what they told me? That 1 out of 3 of those, the person has, they're very, very dangerous interactions. You're going to send a social worker in there?
You can always have a police officer actually come to address that. But look, you're saying 1 out of 3. 2 out of 3 times, if you don't need the police and you're sending them to do that, then why aren't you sending them to respond to shootings and murders? 5, 6 years ago, the response time for officers was closer to 10 minutes. Now it's closer to 16 minutes. New Yorkers deserve a police department that is asked to do the things that it can possibly do, not one that covers the failures of every break in the social safety net.
So police officers that I spoke to, they don't want a...
Is Mamdani going to get Fox News on his side? The horseshoe is real.
Behind closed doors apology. They want a broad public apology for the things that you suggested about them. Will you do that right now?
Absolutely. I'll apologize to police officers right here, because this is the apology that I've been sharing with many rank and file officers. And I apologize because of the fact that I'm looking to work with these officers, and I know that these officers, these men and women who serve in the NYPD, they put their lives on the line every single day. And I will be a mayor that
What changed your mind about it?
You know, I moved to the city when I was 7 years old. I grew up here. And two of the things that I thought often about...
He was born in Uganda.
Was safety and justice. And growing up here, learning about the case of the exonerated 5, learning about Sean Bell, learning about Eric Garner, learning about Michael Brown, and then in 2020, the year where all of these tweets are referring to, it was the year when George Floyd was killed. And it felt like safety and justice
he just
had
lost
never
all
been
of
further
Fox
apart.
News.
And it was actually Eric Adams in 2021 who said that New Yorkers need not choose between these two things. And so one of my focuses was, how do we deliver that justice? And now what I know, having represented 100,000 people in Western Queens, is that to deliver that justice, you have to also deliver that safety. And that means representing the men and women in the NYPD. It means representing the black and brown New Yorkers who've been victims of police brutality. It means representing the Muslim New Yorkers in my district who were surveilled on the basis of their faith.
68% of independent voters want more police officers on the street. And Cuomo, tomorrow night in that debate, he's going to say, I'm going to bring 5,000 more police officers to the street. Will you match that and agree with him on that?
I don't look to Andrew Cuomo for leadership. And
well, will you put 5,000 more cops on the street?
I've been very clear. I want to keep the number of officers that we have, and I want to make it easier for those officers to do their job. And what that means is that we allow officers to focus on serious crimes, and for all of the focus on the head count, we should focus on the retention crisis. When I started running for mayor, 200 officers were leaving the department every month. Now it's 350. And a lot of them are leaving because there's simply no way they can do their job in what's being asked of them. And to your point, however, Andrew Cuomo is going to say a lot of things tomorrow night on the debate stage. And frankly, I wish it was more like NASCAR, so New Yorkers could see the billionaires that were sponsoring him right on his suit jacket. Because this is a man who had 10 years. And I know now that it's politically convenient, he watches
the donor class.
Fox News as well. So I'll just speak to him directly. Andrew, you had your chance to lead this state. You took that time to sell out working class New Yorkers to your billionaire donors. And instead of actually meeting the needs of people who couldn't afford to live in the city, you gave $959 million in tax breaks to Elon Musk. And now you want us to believe that we can't spend less money than that to make every bus fast and free in the same city.
All right. I'm squeezing two very quick ones here,
Absolutely.
if you can answer them quickly. Commissioner Tisch, you have suggested that you want her to stay. Have you asked her to stay, and has she said yes? Because I think that is one issue that would go a long way towards police retention.
I've said that I appreciate Commissioner Tisch's record of uprooting corruption in the upper echelons of the NYPD. Yep. I've appreciated her presiding over drops in crime across the city, and I continue to actively consider her to be my police commissioner. I haven't made any personnel commitments.
Okay, so you don't want to ask her right now?
No. That's the kind of conversation I would actually have in person, in private, not a politics of
Okay, it's an issue that a lot of people brought up with me when I told them I was going to be speaking with you. Last question, you want to have a World Cup czar. I know you're a huge soccer fan, Arsenal fan. I have a lot of
I don't know enough about soccer. No, one of my roommates was an Arsenal fan. I should ask him because he was pretty conservative. Like, so Mamdani. I had a Man City fan roommate and an Arsenal fan roommate, and I could not have. I tried for like 4 years straight to care about soccer. I couldn't. The game I went to in England was really fun.
I'm happy to admit that.
I was more entertained by people throwing paper airplanes.
Happy to come back and teach you about it.
That would be great. What is this World Cup czar going to do for New York City business?
The World Cup is the largest sporting event in the world. And it's as if no one has been thinking or talking about it here in New York City government. It's coming next summer to this city. We're going to have billions of people watching. The World Cup czar is going to ensure that this is a tournament that New Yorkers remember as well, not just those who visit us. That it's a tournament that will signify an increase, not only in tourism, but for small businesses and an exploration of this city. Because for too long, we have had these kinds of opportunities that we've just passed up on. I mean, we recently had the 400th anniversary of New York City. Most people have no idea.
Right, good point.
Because the city didn't do anything about it.
Well, you know, President Trump's going to make a huge deal out of the 250th anniversary of New York City. So maybe there's an example there. And he and his family, his son is a huge soccer fan. So would you welcome them to New York to enjoy?
Wait, which? Jesus. Oh my God. Oh, Baron. Hold on. I'm Arsenal. Oh man. Wait, they're fans of the same soccer team? Aw. Truly, the country is healing.
The World Cup with you?
I would welcome them to come to New York City and also to talk about how we can actually lower the cost of living, because that has to be the focus. And frankly, that's a promise that's been broken. It's time to fix it, and that's what I'm running to do.
Saron Mamdani, thank you very much. Pleasure to talk to you. Hope we can continue the conversation. We'll be watching the debate really closely.
All right. Do we think the comments are... I am going to say that the comments are saying, oh, he actually sounds very coherent. Okay, I can understand his policies more. I see, he's well-reasoned and seems like he's a pretty intelligent Democrat. What do you think? Slurs. Glad that both sides could... Yeah, okay, blows my mind that working people will defend billionaires in their quest for getting out of paying taxes. She's trying to hide that she likes him. Fox came to trap him. Zoran came to teach class. Man turned an ambush into a TED Talk. While a politician who admits he's wrong and apologizes. Bravo. Might be the first time we've seen this in at least a decade. Warning, there's a Hannity jump scare right at the end. Andrew Cuomo does not take no for an answer, whether it be from the voters or the women in his life. Oh. Glad to see the Fox News crowd got to see some real political talent. Damn, the Mamdani supporters are out in droves today. Sounds good to me. I'm not in the top 1%. Holy shit. For a minute, I thought he was running as a mayor in Israel. All this questions about it. Did we watch the same interview? There really wasn't any. There's no what the fuck? This was a huge dub.
Tomorrow night and the whole race as we.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
All right. What do we think Caroline Levitt's gonna have to say about Mamdani? Oh, God.
But a Clinton-appointed judge put them to a halt, filing a temporary restraining order against the Trump administration.
All right, let's bring in White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt, who was just with the president moments ago, so we'll have the latest news from him. We want to ask you about the Putin phone call, which I assume has been concluded. But want to ask you, first of all, about Judge Susan Illman, a Clinton appointee, district judge on the federal bench in San Francisco, who has yet again implemented a nationwide temporary restraining order on what the White House believes is its constitutional authority to cut down the federal government during the shutdown.
Well, the White House believes this, John, because it's just the truth. The president is the head of the executive branch, and therefore he has the right to hire and fire executive branch employees. And unfortunately, the administration has taken the tough step to lay off thousands of workers across the federal government because the Democrats have selfishly chosen to shut our government down in the name of partisan politics.
Just realized
and
I did
now you
not
have
turn
this
desktop audio down after the No Kings fiasco. I will now adjust that.
far left district court Democrat appointed judge who literally just uses politics from the bench and has no legal rationale for this nationwide temporary restraining order. And she is now blocking the administration from doing what the Supreme Court has already affirmed the President of the United States can do. In fact, this very same judge out of liberal San Francisco in May illegally.
Like, there's just she's saying things and it's just bouncing off because it's the same tired bullshit. That's why I'm just fucking with the soundboard.
Ruled that the administration and the president does not have the right to fire executive branch employees, and the Supreme Court smacked this judge down in court. She is wrong. She is doing this for political reasons, and the Democrats know that they can judge shop, they can court shop, they can go to this woman because she is a far left hack and she uses politics from the bench. We are very confident we are going to win this temporary restraining order, and the Trump administration will continue to try to fight through this shutdown and get the government back open so we can get people back to work.
All right, Caroline, Sandra here. Good to have you back on America.
Oh, she took her cross necklace off. It was probably starting to burn.
Reports. I haven't seen White House response yet, but you can provide it to us here. To these unauthorized pro-Palestinian political messages praising Hamas, attacking President Donald Trump, and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, by the way. They were broadcast over these public address systems and terminals at 4 airports, including one in Pennsylvania. I want to get your reaction to that as Martha McCallum sat down with the New York City mayoral candidate, Zohran Mamdani.
Sorry, what?
In the fire over these public address systems and terminals at 4 airports, including one in Pennsylvania. I want to get your reaction to that as Martha McCallum sat down with the New York City mayoral candidate, Zohran Mamdani, in the studios yesterday. And when asked, he refused to call for Hamas to lay down their weapons. Caroline, listen here and we'll get your reaction.
Do you believe that Hamas should lay down their weapons and leave?
Was this in this interview?
Leave the leadership in Gaza?
I believe that any future here in New York City is one that we have to make sure that's affordable for all. And as it pertains to Israel and Palestine, that we have to ensure that there is peace. And that is the future that we have to fight for.
But you won't say that Hamas should lay down their arms and give up leadership in Gaza.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety.
I mean, if we're going by like thoughts, I I would probably want a stronger stance on that about disarming, but honestly, saying, look, man, I'm running for mayor of New York, I think that's also a fine answer.
White House reaction to all of that, Caroline?
Well, that's a classic case of I don't want to answer the question because I know it's wildly unpopular. In the Democrat Party, this interview proved that the Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists.
That's me!
Illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to.
That's why I'm going to be so proud to vote in these midterms. Is because I'm illegal, Hamas. What was the third shit she said?
Not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world. And that's why President Trump worked so hard to end this conflict in the Middle East. It was President Trump who brought home the last living hostage out of Gaza, Edon Alexander,
who brought the first majority of the hostages back.
Since been reunited with his family in New Jersey. It's President Trump who is actually pushing for peace. And I would like to add, where are all of the Free Palestine protesters? It's President Trump who freed Palestine, literally. And they are now very much quiet because why? They can't stand President Trump. And that is the basis of the Democrat Party today.
We will... How am I going to phrase this? Okay. If you lay down your arms and you surrender everything, we will maybe provide you a pathway to potentially establishing the beginnings of somewhat of a recognized legal body. And you have to do it in accordance with whatever the fuck Tony fucking Blair says. Now that's a free Palestine if I've ever seen one. It's just like, shut the fuck up.
Don't stand for anything except for catering to their far left base, which, as I said, includes anti-Semites, includes Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals who they want to let off freely to roam in American streets.
Caroline, let me come back to the shutdown if I could, because the Democrats have been saying, look, they will only pass a continuing resolution if it includes an extension of the Obamacare enhanced tax credits in it. Well, Senator John Thune has held out an offer to the Democrats saying, we'll give you a vote on those tax credits if you agree to reopen the government. Here's what he said a short time ago.
I've said we are willing to have the conversation.
That's not good enough. Do it first. If you're going to if you're going to have it happen anyways, you start. You go first, you pussy.
Vote. We can guarantee you get a vote by a date certain. I can't guarantee it's going to pass. I can guarantee you that there will be a process and you will get a vote.
Don't forget.
Yeah, fuck you. That's not what we're asking for.
Again, it was the Democrats who initially voted to sunset these enhanced Obamacare tax credits in the Inflation Reduction Act. They are designed to sunset at the end of December of this year. Do you expect the Democrats will or won't take the leader up on his offer?
Sunset to what? To what? To disappear forever? Or to be replaced by something better? What do you think was the intention there?
Well, we certainly hope so, because the president and the White House's position on this Democrat shutdown has not changed. All they need to do is vote to reopen the government. That is all we are asking for. That's all Republicans want. We want to reopen the government, get people...
We know. And we ain't letting that happen.
Back to work, get people paid. And the Democrats are just so selfishly using politics to shut down the government and hold the entire country hostage. We now have thousands of flights across the country that have been delayed and canceled because air traffic controllers and TSA agents are not getting paid through this shutdown. President Trump had to tap into tariff revenue to get WIC money out the door for vulnerable women, infant, and children.
Man, thank God there was trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of that. Should be a drop in the fucking bucket. You don't even need to make a case if you're a Democrat. You just play two statements, almost any two statements that this regime says, and they just necessarily cannot exist at the same time.
Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox.
Where the fuck is that playing? Where's the Sean Hannity? There you are.
President Trump in the White House used a creative solution to get our troops paid. The president is bending over
Pussy, you had to use creative mode?
backwards to do what's right by the American people, and the Democrats are continuing to play partisan politics. We hope every day that sensible Democrats with just a little bit of courage to stand against Bernie Sanders and AOC, who, according to the CNN town hall last night, are clearly the new leadership of the Democrat Party, stand against that radical nonsense and vote to reopen the government. And then we can have serious conversations about health care, about immigration, about our economy. That's what this administration...
No, because you guys will just go back to, yeah, we're going to literally never pay any attention to it. We'll sit there when we have to, when you guys speak, but other than that, we are not doing anything. Like, no, sorry, you're pissed because we're forcing your hand. Like, tough shit. Should have negotiated.
Wants to do. President Trump wants to fix our broken healthcare system. That's why he's had a number of announcements with major drug companies to bring down the cost of prescriptions
500%.
and pharmaceutical drugs in this country for American consumers. He's more than committed to talking about
Coward.
that. But first, we must reopen the government, and it's deeply unfortunate Democrats voted today for the 10th time to shut down the government for the 16th day in a row.
Caroline, appreciate that. Could you provide us an update on this phone call with Vladimir Putin? The last we heard from President Trump himself was through a True Social.
Hi, Vlad. Ukraine's asking for Tomahawk missiles, and I just want to make sure that if I do that, you won't be mad at me.
Post just over an hour ago. I'm speaking to President Putin now. The conversation, he said at that time, was ongoing, a lengthy one, and I will report the contents, as will President Putin at its conclusion.
What the fuck is this guy doing over here on the right? He's just
this matter. This is one day ahead of President Trump meeting with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Can you give us an update on that call with Putin?
Yes, of course. I just left the Oval Office and spoke with the president, the Secretary of State, and the Vice President about the call. And the president, first of all, deserves tremendous credit for how much time and effort he has put into solving peace in the Middle East, which everyone said he wouldn't be able to do. There were many doubters about the president and his national security team, and they are getting it done.
Please.
And now with respect to the Russia-Ukraine war, which the president continues to be wholeheartedly committed to ending, it was a very good and productive call between the president and President Putin. They discussed many issues. President Putin congratulated the president for solving peace in the Middle East. They also discussed, of course, the Russia-Ukraine war, and they have agreed to convene a meeting of their high-level staff next week to continue these very important discussions.
What's the meeting gonna be, Vlad? I really want you to do a ceasefire. Actually, I don't care anymore. They didn't give me the Nobel Prize, so you can convene. You could do this war for another year until the Nobel Commission meets again. We will not be ceasefire or anything. We will keep hemorrhaging soldiers and crashing our economy. Okay, Vlad, I don't think that's a good idea, but I support you wholeheartedly. Let me go piss in my mouth and record it and send it to you. I don't know where that came from, but whatever. Just shut up.
May be followed by yet another meeting between President Trump and President Putin. I believe the president will be
Should we
putting
do
out
a meeting tracker of how many meetings and how many peace deals we've gotten? I feel like it's an inverse correlation. The more meetings Trump has, the less peace happens.
his own statement on this matter momentarily, so everyone should keep their eyes on Truth Social. But it was a good and productive call. And then, of course, we will welcome President Zelensky here to the White House again tomorrow, so the president can continue those conversations with the Ukrainian side of this conflict as well.
Well, let's hope that this does go somewhere, and we look forward to more coverage on this coming up this afternoon.
Oh, my God,
I just want to hit you
speaks.
with a little bit of breaking news from DHS. You may not have heard of this. This just came out. Apparently, as part of Operation Midway Blitz, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, announced the arrest of Radule Bojovic, an illegal alien from Montenegro who was working as a sworn police officer with the Hanover Park Police Department. Bojovic apparently was encountered during a targeted enforcement action as part of Operation Midway Blitz. DHS reminding it's a felony for an illegal alien to possess a firearm, and this fellow apparently was working as a sworn police officer. I know you might not know much about it, but wonder
Caroline Levitt. Monte what?
if we can get an initial reaction.
No, this is the first time I'm hearing of it. I will take your facts as the facts, John, on this one. And it's unsurprising to me to hear this because we've seen various examples of this. There was a superintendent, I believe in the state of Iowa, who was here in this country illegal.
Nah, I think Kazakhstan is the coolest name.
With a final order of removal. We've seen that New York State has been giving out licenses illegally to illegal aliens with literally it says no name given on the driver's license. So these are the cases that happened when you had an administration, the Biden administration, for 4 years that completely neglected the laws of our homeland that allowed
I just love the
mass
manner in which she
invasion of
speaks.
tens of millions of illegal aliens, and they have been infiltrated into our communities. So this is another unfortunate example of that, and the Department of Homeland Security is doing incredible work every single day in the face of grave danger and threats.
Fucking prescriptions, holy shit.
And also Democrats holding their paychecks hostage. We have federal law enforcement who are trying to keep our communities safe.
Now, what you see here, when you look at this, you see, oh, that's a brave, upstanding white boy policing our cities. But really, you'll never guess where this fella's from. He's from Monte, yeah, etc., etc. Black Mountain isn't... I'm not saying Black Mountain isn't a sick name. What country is
They're not being paid because of the Democrat Party, but they are doing God's work, and we are very grateful for them, and the president stands behind them 100%.
Caroline, really appreciate you coming back on America Reports. Good to have you here.
Good to see you guys. Thanks.
Thank you for the private briefing. We always appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Come back soon.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my
Emily from what?
You're welcome.
Come back soon.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno.
Oh, okay. I thought she said Emily from Ponyo. Oh my god. Honestly, do we just want to do Fox News and pick a policy to argue about? I think that'd be fun. All right, well let's do mental health care be the policy discussion of today. And let's just sort out to Fox News on the side. That sound good to everybody? Maybe we do some GeoGuessr. I don't know. Christ. Let's check in on the protest, see if anyone's been shot yet. Damn, Bernie can fucking yap. Oh, Chicago. Hang on. Mr. President, I think I found an Antifa member. He's wearing sunglasses. Buddy just stepped off the boat. I'm in support of all these people walking. I'm happy to see them out here. That is how many cameramen or like news agencies are right here in front of this building trying to get the photo of the juxtaposition of the No Kings protesters in front of a very tall building that says Trump's name on it. Am I gonna win AP Photo of the Month? The Pulitzer Prize? I don't know if you get Pulitzer for a photo. I don't, but whatever. Mike is a Johnson. Fuck the fat shit fascists. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. There's more signs than people. Okay, that's pretty sizable. I was worried it would be like the massive violent protests outside of ICE facilities where it's just like 7 people being like, "You need to leave!" and then them getting shot with pepper balls. Oh my God, they're still okay. Jimmy Kimmel. I supported your coming back on air. Please don't go back to making Big Lee jokes. Holy fuck. Come on, man.
The man in the middle. The man I believe is the most important senator in the country right now.
Why am I completely blanking on this guy? I know he's a guy.
Is Pennsylvania's John Fetterman. Because he is, maybe because of his size, able to hold on to what he believes are his principles. And he could be the deciding vote. Remember, this isn't about the House, it's about the Senate. And we are fortunate enough to have Senator John Fetterman joining us right now. Senator, Pennsylvania.
Right, sorry, the other Cuomo.
Move down. Gonna move it down.
Remind you, this is the moderate Democrat, whereas Chuck Schumer is Antifa, communist, whatever. John Fetterman is the moderate.
We'll put this. All right, Senator gets situated. Bill, find your seat.
I didn't hear the music.
No, you're all right.
Isn't there music?
All right. Bill's
and
lost.
It stops and you get a chair.
Bill's lost. Where's Spencer? Get him up here. Sit him down. All right, there we go. All right. Everything's fine again. Senator, thank you for joining us. Stephen A., what do you have for the senator?
Was there a dress code?
No, sir.
I missed that.
No, sir. We don't play that here. Not at your size.
Okay, yeah.
Two-part question. Number one, when the hell is the shutdown going to end? And number two, who's most culpable for the shutdown taking place to begin with?
Oh, boy.
What, the shutdown? I think right now I'm only one of 2 Democrats that are voting to keep the government open. And now I have chose to do that because I think it's like a core responsibility as a senator to keep our government open. The Democratic Party, my party, the Republican Party, they have different priorities. And that's how democracy, you sort those things out. But you don't hold shutting the government down as a hostage.
Why are you a Democrat, though? And I don't say that being a wise guy. you support Israel, correct?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I do, and that's been isolating too.
All right,
because
but look, you support Israel, and the progressives don't, generally speaking. You are for a very rigorous defense against Putin in Ukraine, correct? You want to stop him?
That's your position as to why he's not. I'm sorry. Who is the party that's voted consistently to send arms and money to Ukraine? And who's the party that made it a fucking question as to whether or not we should?
Right?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I would fully support. In fact, I just on social media encouraged President Trump to provide tomahawks to the Ukrainians. Okay. I mean, it's like he is probably the only person in the world that could end this terrible war. And I think, why can't we all agree that's
good fucking question.
You're not a wild spender. You want to get the debt under control. So why are you Democrat?
Because Democrats get the debt under control by raising fucking revenue.
Your party is against you on all 3 of those issues.
Well, I mean, a lot of the things that maybe I really believe in calling balls and strikes, and I think I want to follow the truths. You know, and
why aren't you an independent then?
Well, I mean, those are some independent thoughts, but overall, I mean, you have to pick one side, Republican, Democrat. That's always been my party. And Bill, let me just say, it's like I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump, but they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution and those things. And that's part of...
No, but they're okay with that happening if it furthers whatever they think Trump's going to do for them.
Another thing, I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things.
What about, like, Mussolini? Are there not people that we can probably compare to Hitler? Like, come the fuck on.
And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue. We're going to be more likely in resulting in extreme kind of outcomes and political violence and doing all these kinds of things. Like Charlie Kirk. For me, all I could say is like, let people grieve. Give people the space. I'm not going to use that terrible thing and that Pasek assassination to make my argument and try to put out my views. It's like, my God, you know, he's a father that had his neck blown out by a bullet. And now people have forgotten. President Trump was in my state, was shot in the head. And if that would have, could you imagine where our nation would be if he was hit in the same way?
Don't make me answer that one.
With Kirk. We really got to turn the temperature down. And we can agree to disagree on these kinds of things. But right now, shutting down the government, I just can't take it that.
So what do the Democrats, your contemporaries, say to you when you say that to them?
What do I say to them is like...
No, what do they say to you when you say that?
What do they say to me?
Yes.
Yeah, well, parts of my base are angry with me.
No.
And primarily, which is really strange, I, run the numbers. I vote, I think, 90% plus Democrat, but they're angry, and it's like, but I, with my base, very, very angry about me being fully, unapologetically supportive for Israel. And that really pushed that. I've backed Israel through this entire thing. Now, of course, it's heartbreaking in the tragedy in Gaza and what's happened to the innocent Palestinians. Now, for me, I blame Hamas and Iran and Hezbollah and some other people. They'll believe Israel, and I refuse to do that.
Let's get an audience question. Varian, please. Where are you from, and what is your question for the senator?
Good evening, gentlemen. Great to see you again. Darian Roget from the great state of New Jersey. Drove down just to see you guys. I saw you guys at Westbury in Long Island on the Three Americans tour, thanks to Bill, a few months ago. Pleasure to be here. So my question is about the leaderless, rudderless, dilapidated...
Well, for everything they say, there's like... maybe 1% of it actually gets at what they're trying to communicate, or like 1% of it is even novel in the slightest. Now, Bill O'Reilly here communicated that he's a senile fucking retard when he was talking about, you support Ukraine. How does that make you a Democrat? As if he's forgotten the last, 10 years. Sorry? Yeah, supporting Ukraine makes you a Democrat because there's one party that actually wants to help Ukraine, and the other one that says, we're not going to help you because you didn't say thank you.
State of the Democratic Party at the moment. And I can say this as a Republican, I'm elated by that, but I also believe we do need two robust political parties in this country, at least. So do you think the Democratic Party will eventually moderate a la Bill Clinton circa 1992 and find a political third way eventually by the time of the 2028 presidential election? Or, on the other...
What are the fucking radical policies of the Democrats? What is it that is so fucking radical? like, where are my radical Democrats? What the fuck? Do something. Politically, not, you know.
Hand, do you think they continue down the sort of where the energy of the party is, right? The far left, AOC, Zohran Mamdani-esque trajectory, national.
You have no fucking clue what far left is. Not even Zoran. Zoran's probably the closest person in elected politics to it, but like, sorry, you have no fucking clue what far left means.
And which, in my opinion, you know, is doubling down on stupid and on the issues that cost them the 2024 election, and continue, as the august Bill O'Reilly would say, continue being pinheads. So that's my question.
Excellent question, but I want the senator to answer. Do you see any moderation of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party?
The question,
you see
the
it.
question was for the.
Yeah, well, I mean.
By the way, Bill, so you know, I know he called you august. But the question was for the senator.
My earpiece isn't working.
Yeah.
Who is this? I don't even know who he is.
Please lean back. Go ahead, Senator.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you're thinking about winning the election, you know, and so now that's all going to come down to 7 or 8 states. And that's really that matters. And I would like to remind everybody, because we all know that Trump ran the table, all of those kinds of states. And now you can't ever forget, these are the states that are going to determine who's going to be the next administration. And now a lot of the things, the extremism that people turned their back in 24, and that's how we kind of came up short. I mean, you know, I campaigned for thousands of miles across Pennsylvania for Vice President Harris. And it was going to be incredibly difficult. You could just feel the energy there.
Sorry, there's like not even a fucking IQ point to share in this entire room. I thought this might be interesting, but it's just, it's nothing. It's nothing. Holy fuck. Do people listen to this and get like excited by it? Is this moving to people? It was like nothing. Now we could watch Tim Pool about Dogtober 7th. Oh God. I'm good. Ugh. I think when the cards hit the table, I'd probably come down to defend Hassan before Tim Pool. Doesn't feel good. But whatever. Let's watch.
In fact, they don't allow journalists in. No.
Dim Tool, yeah. That when I put that in the title, people come in and ready to argue. What the fuck my dog doing here?
Human being is capable of doing some good.
All right. Pick a policy, any policy. Look at that.
Good things. Is mutually lauding Netanyahu a good look, including among the MAGA base? And does Trump deserve the Nobel Peace Prize? Joining me to debate all this is from the Office Tatum podcast, Officer Tatum, TV personality Emily Austin, host of the Tara Palmieri show, Tara Palmieri, and Nadine Kizwani, the activist in the Within Our Lifetime protest group. And here in the studio, making his debut in my studio here in London, is the streamer.
He has a unique ability to look so goofy, no matter what.
Destiny, welcome to you. And welcome to all my guests joining remotely. Well, Destiny, let me start with you, given you're here. I was watching it from early this morning, and it's very hard not to get caught up in the euphoria of the hostages being released, the families, their joy, on the Palestinian side, an end to the bombing, certainly for now, the return of thousands of prisoners from Israeli jails and so on. You know, it was a day of great celebration. Did you feel celebratory today?
I mean, it's always good when war ends. It's good when conflict ends. It's good when hostages are brought home. I think regardless of how that came about, I think it's always a good thing to celebrate.
What's the downside for you?
Well, I mean, it depends on what part we're talking about. I think that, you know, if you're looking for some kind of comprehensive peace between Israel and Palestine, this deal doesn't even come close to it. Remember, this is the second time the president has told us there will be peace in the Middle East. The first time was the Abraham Accords, and clearly that didn't work. So, yeah, Trump is really good at putting together these plans that are not plans at all. They're just like backbones of plans.
But when you say it didn't work, the Abraham...
He wasn't kidding. That's a campaign promise that Trump has followed through on, is that he has concepts of a plan, because every fucking thing he says is concepts of a plan. Holy fucking...
Abraham Accords. I mean, it stood with the countries that signed up to the Abraham Accords. You know, they have had a good working relationship with Israel as a consequence of that. Saudi Arabia...
Okay, so currently in New York Mental Hygiene Law Article 9 contains the rules for removing someone from the community and hospitalizing them against their will. A person can be hospitalized involuntarily for observation and evaluation if they are deemed mentally ill and pose a risk of serious harm to themselves or others. Okay, if a person can be taken to a hospital for evaluation if they appear to be mentally ill. What? That's a crazy standard. It's like, you're looking a little schizo today. I think I'm gonna compel some treatment for you. Conducting themselves in a way that is likely to result in serious harm to themselves or others, that's fair. Display an inability to meet basic living needs, that's fair. Who can initiate involuntary removal? Police or peace officers, fair enough. Family member can request the police to act. Okay. Clinicians on mobile crisis outreach teams can also direct the removal of a person. Okay. That makes sense.
Indicated it would like to join them, but it can't when this war was raging, understandably. They're looking to expand the Abraham Accords. The amount of unity from Arab countries and Muslim countries like Turkey to this peace plan has been pretty unanimous in the region. So I'm not quite sure if this plan is unworkable, what would have been a better plan?
I mean, anything that actually leads to a long-term permanent solution between Israel and Palestine. I mean, when you say the Abraham Accords worked, I mean, that's because they were involving countries that weren't really fighting with each other. I think that a lot of the Israeli peace process with other Arab states is just trying to extricate Palestine from any overall peace arrangement with any other country. The Abraham Accords did that. They kicked the can down the road. October 7th happened. It was just like the second intifada after the failures of Oslo 1 and 2. And now we're getting a deal that kind of looks like an Oslo 3 peace framework where it's a bunch of vague stuff. Nobody really knows what it means. And basically, Israel has like infinite reign to kind of like play with it how they want. Like, what does it mean to de-radicalize the Palestinian Authority or de-radicalize the Gaza Strip? You know, who knows?
Emily Austin, you know, I felt a lot of joy seeing the hostages after 2 years of utter, unrelenting hell finally being released. 20 of them back to...
Wait, does Norway border Germany? Is there any land that connects them? No, because Sweden would have bordered. It's not Russia, is it? What's that little sliver of Russia above? Is it above Poland? Is it above Germany? It's not Poland again, is it? And where the fuck is closer to the Netherlands than Finland or am I misremembering? Denmark, maybe? Oh, yeah, okay. Never mind. Disregard soy rant.
Their families, and the scenes with the reunion with their families, incredibly moving. I defy anyone with a heart to not be moved by it. And I also found the scenes of jubilation amongst the Palestinians and seeing families returning, albeit back to their bombarded homes, with at least the hope now of being able to rebuild their lives, hopefully. All of that I found very euphoric. I have to say, I did blush, not at Donald Trump being celebrated in the Knesset, but by the kind of mass adulation for Netanyahu, because I don't think he showered himself in any glory this year. Explain why you think I'm wrong.
This is something I've stated as a truism. I got to double check.
Well, honestly, I always say my fight as an American Jew is to make sure that Israel and Jews are safe and there's not all this false information going around
Your fight is to speak through the fucking bow tie. Okay, no, whatever.
in America. But needless to say, Israel is very torn between supporting Netanyahu or not. There's a joke that Israelis support Trump more than they support their own prime minister, which right now definitely feels that way in Israel. I will add, I don't think Netanyahu gets any credit when he does something right at all. I think whether it's something as precise as the beeper attack, he'll never get the pat on the back for doing things the right way. When it's his involvement in signing the agreement and it's Hamas who wasn't signing it, Bibi will always take the hits for that. Now, whether you like him or not, I just feel like you need to give credit where it's due.
All right,
But I think, to be honest, I thought Emily, he did get a lot of credit for the Hezbollah Pedro attack.
What about Netanyahu?
That was widely
I
seen.
would like to have thought so, but I
would just say, just to finish that point, I would say that he was widely credited with having launched a very precise, very carefully planned, expertly executed dismantling of Hezbollah using pages that did not lead to mass civilian casualties. Similarly, I thought the attack on Iran, which many people thought would be catastrophic and launch World War III and so on, actually turned out to be a short-lived war, which was very precise again in its targeting, and again did not involve mass civilian casualties. The problem comes with the way he has prosecuted the war in Gaza, which has been to do none of those things, to be not remotely surgical, but to be, in many people's eyes, utterly indiscriminate, leveling 80% of Gaza to the point of total destruction, killing 70,000 people, including many tens of thousands of civilians, including over 20,000 kids. It seems to be a completely different way of waging war against your enemy to the way that he has rightly, in my opinion, got due credit for the way he dealt with Iran and Hezbollah.
Yeah, I'm a numbers girl. I like to think not emotionally, but with facts. And I recently found something really interesting, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. According to UNRWA's numbers, which I'm reluctant to trust to begin with, according to them, 73,000 structures were destroyed, right? 68,000 people were dead. By the way, I'll add the Hamas spokesman said 58,000 militants were killed, so that math is not really making sense. But per UNRWA numbers, if that is in fact true and there were 73,000 structures destroyed and 68,000 people dead, then their ratio of structure to person, I'm talking buildings, was less than one.
Sorry. I know what'll make Israel look good in their conduct in this war. What's the structure to civilian ratio? Excuse me? What? Has anyone ever cited the structure to civilian ratio? What? Yeah, we watched that yesterday on stream after you... Oh, and we also just watched Mamdani absolutely cook on Fox News. And now we're watching Piers Morgan, and we're talking about your favorite subject. And I want your reaction to this statement
not really
here.
Making Hamas spokesman said 58,000 militants were killed, so that math is not really making sense. But per UNRWA numbers, if that is in fact true and there were 73,000 structures destroyed and 68,000 people dead, then their ratio of structure to person, I'm talking buildings, was less than one person. It's zero.
Yeah. Do you support Israel now that you know that their structure to building ratio is under 1? Yeah, get owned. I know, right?
0.9 people per structure.
Emily, you've seen the pictures. You've seen, I mean, look, one of my biggest bugbears about this is Netanyahu refusing to this day to allow international journalists to operate freely in Gaza to verify what's been going on there. But we've all seen the very few aerial shots that have come out in the last few weeks and months, and they've been utterly devastating.
Pierce Morgan saying one's name has to be terrifying.
You know, this idea there's just a few structures or one for one and so on, it's for the birds. They have leveled 3/4 of Gaza.
Wait, so I agree
Pierce,
with
I can't
Pierce
deny
Morgan?
the facts. I saw the videos of Gaza. Anyone who's denying that it's inhabitable is lying to you. However, I will add that when Hamas has done a phenomenal job since 2005, embedding themselves into civilian infrastructure, into schools, into nurseries, into hospitals. Al-Shifa Hospital was a Hamas HQ, for God's sake. They don't really leave Israel with much of a choice. Listen, I know you're critical of Netanyahu, but I've yet to hear anyone give me a better answer than if they were in your shoes and you are fighting a military that has fully embedded themselves into infrastructure that belongs to civilians, do you now lose a war and surrender because they've made it really, really difficult to attack? I'll tell you what Israel has done. They've done them the courtesy of dropping leaflets every single time they're going to make a strike, which, by the way, I'll add, no other military will ever do that in any form of war. They have let aid in despite...
Well, that was like, what, 2 years ago? I feel like the like normie position on it has shifted. It shifted sometime like a couple months ago, where people initially were like, well, no, Israel does have a right to defend itself, and they do. But then people were like, okay, this is fucking crazy at this point. Like, what the fuck is going on? This Netanyahu guy's nuts.
People denying that, that's a fact. They've let tons of food and aid in. Again, no other military will ever do.
Except for that 9-month stint where they just didn't.
They waged a 3-month. Well, hang on. They waged a 3-month illegal blockade of food and aid in February this year, which was a breach of all conventions, and is, in my opinion, was a war crime. I mean, I think a lot of stuff.
Before those 3 months blockade, they allowed enough aid in to last them.
Well, you know what? It should never have happened. It was that you cannot do that.
Why is it Israel's responsibility to feed them to begin with if they're in a war?
Not. It's Israel's obligation to let the aid that's allocated to them through.
It's a war crime. It's a war crime to have a blockade. That's the point.
October 7th was a war crime too.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
but you won't get any. But Emily, you won't get any argument from me. I've always said that Hamas are a despicable terror group who committed one of the worst atrocities of modern times, and they can have no role in Gaza going forward. It's not just how the news is told, but what's left out, which concerns me. And when a friend in the business recommended I try ground news, I gave it a go. Quite honestly, I was impressed.
Again, appealing to that, oh, if I listen to both sides, I'll eventually get the truth fallacy. It's not true. It's not how it works. There's nothing.
It does something brilliant,
Thank
which
you.
most news platforms are afraid to do. It's an app
I don't need
and a
to get a
website that
life.
lines up
I'm a
coverage
gamer.
of the same story from across
I
the
have
spectrum, left,
lots
right,
of lives.
international, and lays it all out side by side. That kind of transparency is increasingly rare and is vital. Ground News helps you to dig in and find the facts by showing you who owns each outlet, what their bias is, and which stories are being buried. Has an especially revealing blind spot feed, which services stories being reported almost exclusively by
they forgot to show
only one side of the political divide. I want to hear every side before making up my mind. Ground News makes that possible and easy. It's independent.
The only thing, here's your tidbit, little knowledge tidbit for the day. The only thing the news is good for is, one, getting some people's opinions on it, and two, linking you to underlying studies, if they do link.
Funded by subscribers and not corporate interests, just like my show. And it's a tool that puts the power back in your hands. Go to groundnews.com/peers to claim your 40% discount to the unlimited access Vantage plan and see what everyone else is missing. That's groundnews.com/peers. it is incumbent on the only democracy in the region to actually behave at a higher level. And I've always taken issue with Israel's claim that they behaved on a superior moral plinth to any standing army. I
disagree with you.
Well, the best way to prove it is to let the journalists in. It's very easy to make all sorts of claims about...
Journalists will have died in Gaza because when they are going to announce that they're striking and Hamas is not going to allow people
I don't know if I'd go that far. I would double check some history there before making that claim.
Hamas would have given the journalists the courtesy of fleeing.
Emily, that's not the concern of the Israeli government. They're not concerned about the safety and welfare of journalists. It is down to the individual media companies who employ these journalists about their risk assessment. But the fact remains that no journalists from CNN, from BBC, from Reuters, from AP, from any reputable news agencies are allowed into Gaza to report freely on what's happened. And until they are, the suspicion remains that they are up to...
Again, even still, I just would be hesitant to say the most. Like, there's a lot of shit that goes down over there. I'm just saying
stuff which they don't want the world to see. So we
Top
will
three.
See. I fear we're going to uncover a lot of very bad
videos
stuff.
coming out of Gaza left and right. I think the safety of the journalists was their concern.
Well, they've killed a record. Well, they've killed a record number of journalists in.
Okay, the record number of journalists is also a bad point. I mean, Hamas does have journalists that also carry weapons. Like, it's, I don't know. The discourse around this issue is just toxic
on Palestinian journalists. So I don't think
unfortunately, Pierce, in Gaza, they throw on a vest that says journalist.
Yeah, but actually, many of them were genuine journalists who were not members of Hamas who were brutally killed. And that is an outrage.
Are you aware Israel drops leaflets every time they're going to commit an airstrike and Hamas does not let them evacuate?
I listen. You won't get me defending Hamas about any of this, but the idea that all the 200 plus journalists had it coming because they were fake journalists is bullshit.
I never said that.
Well, you're implying it when you're saying they're wearing the shirt.
The journalists, they all had working cell phones, by the way. The claim that Gaza has no electricity was completely a lie. The leaflets warned them. They literally had
all these Hamas journalists want to do is charge their phone.
Sirens letting them know to leave. How much more of a warning should Israel give before they're going to strike? Which, again, I'm going to repeat.
Well, it's more of... Okay, look, I'm going to bring other panelists in. I think it's more not about the warnings. It's more about how much more bombing does it take to make your point. Let me bring in Tara Palmieri. I mean, Tara, this has been a very... I've tried to be fair with this war from the start. I always recognised Israel's right to defend itself. I felt it had a duty to defend itself. I think any other country in the world that was attacked in that way would have done something similar, certainly early on. It's the scale of what happened, particularly this year, to me became increasingly indefensible. When you start blockading and starving a civilian population in the way that Israel was doing, when you just carry on just relentless bombardment and destroying most of Gaza, when you're not achieving your aims of hostage release or defeating Hamas, none of this made any sense to me. And when you have people like Smodrich and Ben-Gvir on the Israeli...
I'll never understand why people find mushy peas appetizing.
Government, openly talking about ethnic cleansing, kicking all the Palestinians out and taking the land, I began to feel that the mission creep was changing very, very fast. That's why I'm so...
No, please. I can't do another discussion about the Iraq war. Not again.
Thrilled that we got to where we did today, really, unexpectedly. But what is your overview about this war?
I agree with you. If there was nothing to hide, then why not let international journalists in? I mean, international journalists have covered every war. They're covering the war in Ukraine, Iraq, Afghanistan. They take risks, they die. But that is the way that people find out what is actually happening on the ground there. The fact that you couldn't get...
Right then, pulling up to the pitch, ordering us some scran, let me get the nothing for free.
Aid, the blockades, people 29%. Traveling for miles, for days, for just chickpeas. I interviewed a father in Gaza that was traveling for days for that. It's just so inhumane that it's hard to even remember the start of the war, why this even started, which was an incredible aggression, horrible act of Hamas, just attacking Israel brutally, stealing hostages and killing them. But then when you get into the atrocities against the Palestinian people and how many children have died, you've really lost the plot in so many ways. And then, there are some of these videos where you see Benjamin Netanyahu sort of like berating these creators that are pro Israel, and they're saying you really have to protect us more in the press. You have to be pushing our side more and more. You realize it's really become a propaganda game in a way, and Israel lost. I mean,
do we have any more info on how I can get some of that
Hasbro is condemning them
money?
for war crimes. UN organizations saying it's a genocide. It's a wonderful day that the hostages have been returned. It's an amazing day. It's an amazing celebration, but I do think that we can't look at Netanyahu as some sort of hero in all of this.
No,
we have to understand that this is a breaking point.
But we could, I think. I mean, one of my biggest problems with the way on both sides I've had this, right? So early on, when I was defending Israel's right to defend itself, I had a lot of extremists on the Palestinian side saying I was a pro-Zionist monster and so on. And then this year, I've had the complete reverse, where I've had very extreme Zionists who have come for me in big numbers, and their tactic has been to brand any criticism of Netanyahu or his government, which some of whom are absolute headbangers like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, that if you criticize them at all, you must be anti-Semitic. You must hate Jewish people.
As a Jew, I want to say that's foolish.
Yeah.
I don't correlate criticism with anti-Semitism. I just want to make that very clear.
I know you would never do that, but I'm sure you've seen it, Emily. It's like been a really insidious thing to have to experience, because I have never had anything but positive thoughts about Jewish people, about Israel, actually. I love the country. I've been there. And the idea that you can't criticize a government. I made the point. I led the campaign against the Iraq war in the UK. I was running the Daily Mirror newspaper, which was a Labour-supporting paper. I took on the Labour Prime Minister, Tony Blair. It didn't mean I hated the British people or that I hated my country. It just meant I hated what my government was doing in my name. So this kind of thing that you must be a Jew hater if you criticise Netanyahu, I found disgusting. Brandon, let me bring you in here. There's been an interesting split in Trump's support. The base, it seems to me, the MAGA base, is increasingly anti-Israel. We see that with Tucker Carlson, with Candace Owens and others. Others are very much pro-Israel, but there's a real split there. What's that about?
Well, let me correct you on that. I don't think it's anti-Israel. A lot of it's anti-Semitic. I mean, people are losing their minds. And I almost had a stroke listening to the capitulation to the foolery in Gaza and Israel. Israel don't owe them anything. Why are we confused about this? They came over.
Even if Israel doesn't owe them anything, they do have an obligation to you can screen the aid, that's fine, but you do have to let aid through. I don't know. Gideon's Chariot 1 was probably the biggest moment for me of okay, shit's getting way out of hand.
When they slaughtered all these people, they took people hostage. They don't owe them nothing. They could starve them to death if they wanted to. That's their decision, in my personal opinion, because they're reasonable. They send out leaflets, and the lies about the media. They don't allow journalists in. Where's all this propaganda coming from?
They don't allow them in.
I see videos of kids. I see buildings coming down. Where's all this coming from?
They don't allow it. Look.
Well, listen, but there is a real reason.
It is actually a fact they don't allow journalists in.
No, but
unless you are a friendly journalist embedded with the IDF, you're not allowed in.
It's inconsequential. Because
it's not, though, is it? Because how do we know the truth?
I believe it's inconsequential. You know the truth. You see the propaganda coming out of Gaza. You see, and then journalists get killed and people are complaining.
Propaganda is not truth.
And people complain.
I see propaganda on all sides, and in my experience of propaganda in war,
what is the truth?
Brandon, the only way to counter propaganda from all sides in a war, because it comes from all sides, the only way is to allow independent journalists to do their jobs.
They don't do their job in America. So what they lie every day in America. So I don't really care about that. At the end of the day, we will see now that the war is over.
Let's talk about people getting $7,000 a post.
Let me finish,
to lie. That's
young
our
lady.
feature
Let me
here with
finish.
you.
And I will give you a chance to speak. Let me finish, young lady, please.
Today's show is sponsored by Oxford Natural, makers of the Optimum Day and Optimum Night all-natural supplements. Thousands of Brits and Americans are already taking them with incredible results. Optimum Day boosts your energy and supports weight loss throughout the day. Optimum Night helps you relax and get deep, refreshing sleep. They have countless success stories, including from some very familiar faces. England legend Michael Owen, who lost 40 pounds, AFTV's Robbie, who lost more than 100 pounds. To watch their full stories and many more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit oxfordnatural.com/peers. And here's the best part. Use the code PEERS and get 70% off your first order. Yes, 70% off with the code
has to go buy a
PEERS.
million supplements from this company.
And so what I'm saying is that I think it's inconsequential. I think people are jumping out. They don't have to feed these people. They could have starved them to death if they wanted to, but they didn't.
That
they were
would be a
reasonable.
war crime.
They were you could say it's a war crime anyway. Who
Well, no,
cares?
I'm not saying
they
it.
came
It
over
would
there and
be a
killed
war
all these
crime.
innocent people in Israel.
Yeah, but
You could say
Brandon,
it's a
it
war
would
crime
be a
anyway.
war crime.
You could say it doesn't matter. They killed all these people.
It does matter.
Hamas is embedding.
Brandon,
Hamas is
it
embedding
matters.
themselves. Hamas is embedding themselves in the population.
Yeah, Hamas
What
are
else do you
disgusting.
expect them to do?
Hamas are
It does, but what do you-
disgusting, and they
what
commit
do you expect
endless
them to
war
do,
crimes.
Pierce?
But the
What do you
idea
expect them to do, Pierce?
Yeah, but
how do you fight a war?
I'm sorry,
when they're
but
embedded
is
in the
it-
people.
Sorry, but there are international rules relating to warfare.
Is Destiny going to say fucking anything?
And if Israel breaks them, they are as culpable as Hamas or anybody else.
Commit war crime? Did Netanyahu commit war crimes trying to fight this war when you have Hamas embedded in
I
with the
believe he may well have done. Yes, I do believe that.
people? What else is he going to do then? Not fight?
No, you can fight, but you have to abide by
I mean, it's obviously stupid, but whatever.
the rules of war.
Well, what are you going to do?
Well, this is why we have
the
it.
rules
Yeah,
of
but
the war.
Brandon,
Nobody's
this is,
answering his question.
this is why
What do
we
you
had
do
the
when they're
Geneva.
embedded
This
in
is why we had
civilians?
the Geneva Convention set up after
what do
World
you
War
do
II.
then?
Because
Our international law already covers this. When you have people embedded within civilians, first of all, that's not allowed. That's a violation of international law, right? To hide behind civilians. But if you're gonna do strikes, which you can do, you at least have to weigh the collateral damage with the military objective. Like, for a lot of, I'd say probably a plurality at least of the strikes that is being followed, but and there's a lot where it's probably not. There's a lot where it's like, ooh, that's some rough analysis you got there, bud.
What do you do then?
Brandon, after World War II, they set up a Geneva Convention because the world concluded that a lot of the stuff that went on in World War II simply crossed a line. And therefore,
You're
for future
telling
wars and
me.
conflicts,
What?
you had to have rules of
No.
engagement recognized by the international community. And if you don't have those, then anything goes, and anyone can do anything. And you, I'm sure,
And
would
I
agree with me that way insanity lies, right? And total mayhem.
I agree, Pierce, but I think that this was a unique situation where you're fighting an enemy that's embedded in with the people. They literally have headquarters at hospitals. They're having military weapons and doing all this stuff. Some of their journalists are terrorists. Some of the people are terrorists. They're not even fighting with uniforms on. How do we even know who's a combatant and who's not a combatant? When they release the results of how many people that died, they're not telling you how many people are combatant. When they say that there's children that died, the range of children is from 17 all the way down. How do we know how many 17-year-olds that they've recruited to fight on the side of Hamas? So it is ridiculous.
Well, we don't.
Wouldn't we actually find that out if we had journalists in there?
Exactly.
Wouldn't we actually know the
the journalist going to have a birth
If we
certificate in their
had-
hand? Give me a break.
No, if we had journalists in there that were from every country all over, you can have your dispute with
They
American
would be
journalists.
dead.
Obviously. You don't think they're
They would be
independent?
dead. They would be getting killed. They would be dead. They would be
No,
starving,
Brandon,
right?
Brandon, let me just
Okay.
interject for a sec. I want to point something out I noticed after the ceasefire is that before the ceasefire, if you looked at videos of Gaza, and Pierce, plenty of them were coming out, not from journalists, from civilians in Gaza, you saw no men in uniform. It's almost like Hamas did not exist in Gaza.
Yeah, that's a war crime. But one war crime isn't justification for another war. Like, you can't be stealing shit out of people's houses. That's also a crime. these two can be true. Not to be a both sides bitch, but like, this is just a waste of time.
Thought Israel had gotten rid of them. Suddenly, after Israel withdrew its troops, every single man, actually, let me add, teenager and adult man suddenly has a machine gun and is in uniform. Excuse me, the woman in the red, I forgot your name. Actually, really respect your opinion.
Tara.
But I do believe that these Hamas militants, if you're a journalist in Gaza and they're dressed as regular innocent civilians, you don't know who's who. So what are they going to do? Okay, you look like a normal kid. You look like a normal kid. You could be Hamas, I'm not sure. They were literally, as Brandon's trying to say, embedding themselves in civilians, not just in their resources, in uniform as well.
Yeah, they obviously were doing all of those things. So let me bring in Nadine. Nadine, you and I have talked a lot during this war, often in some very contentious circumstances. But today, how do you feel? I mean, the war appears to have ended for now. Palestinians are returning to what remains of their homes. There appears to be a joyous feeling of at least the war is over and they can try and get back to their lives. They haven't been expelled, as many on the Israeli government would have liked to seen. So do you give Trump any credit for this?
80?
I mean, I sincerely hope that the, war is over. Palestinians have been through enough, through starvation, famine, entire bloodlines wiped out, families that'll never be, the same again. And, I just think these ceasefires aren't necessarily proof of peace. So far, they've just been pauses in the project of genocide and ethnic cleansing that began over 75 years ago with the Nakba and continues today.
Okay.
Under Trump, countless of Palestinians were killed. They were starved. They were displaced. And the so-called ceasefire plan didn't even include Palestinians, negotiators
from the Ottoman Empire to Spain. Oh my God, I'm completely blanking. There was an empire that was like right here.
In the construction of the plan. Instead, Palestinians were forced into submission through starvation, blockade, and these U.S.-administered Gaza humanitarian fund sites where people were rounded up and targeted by Islamophobic biker gangs. And now part of these deals demand the disarmament of Hamas, which is literally impossible, since most of the weapons that Hamas happens now were delivered by Israel itself in the form of unexploded ordinances and munitions dropped on Gaza. So it feels like, this is all just a setup to extract the hostages, which Hamas said early on in October 2023 that they were willing to release all of the civilian hostages in order to just continue killing people in Gaza. Just last night, another Palestinian was killed, was shot by Israel, and also proxy, militias that are being funded and protected by Israel in Gaza are also continuing to kill Palestinians, like the Palestinian journalist Saleh al-Jafrawi, who was murdered. And I think another thing that is important to mention here is that Israel systematically...
Hamas. You're a compulsive liar.
$7,000, we get it. You get your pay.
Keep saying that. That's a lawsuit. Do you have any proof? Do you have any proof?
Who's getting paid? Do you have any proof? Interrupting me.
Who's
Not
getting
to
paid?
mention that Israel systematically destroyed more hospitals, schools, water and sanitation systems,
Hamas
power plants, and other essential infrastructure right before withdrawing from Gaza, leaving the population.
Austria, Hungary. Jesus, I'm stupid. Not Czechoslovakia.
Okay, don't all talk at once. Nadine, let me ask you a question. Out of interest, what should Israel have done on October the 8th by way of responding to the worst terror attack of modern times?
What should Palestinians have done to respond?
No, that wasn't my question.
Constant killing,
that wasn't my question.
Blockade.
What should Israel have done?
You're not. Is she your lawyer? I'm not sure why she's continuously interrupting me. I know you get $7,000 to sit here and spew propaganda, but that's not going to work.
Nadine, aren't you a lawyer? Don't you know what defamation is? Do you have any proof that I have ever gotten one penny from Israel? No, if you're going to make an accusation, back it up with facts. Do you have one proof, one receipt that I received $1 from Israel, or are you just yapping at it?
To his question right now. I know
Nadine, I think it's a fair. Hang on. It's a fair question, Nadine. You made an allegation against Emily that she's taken money to talk up for Israel.
This is too much. I'm gonna end stream here. Maybe I'll be live later. We'll see.